luck. I call it skill. All right, here I go. Woo-hoo! Yeah, good try. Maybe try harder next time.
Hey yo, what it do? What it do? It's your boy Q, and welcome on into Battlegrounds HQ as we get ready to get kicked off with split number 2 here at the ALGS. Of course, APAC South about to be getting started. Wouldn't be any better off than if I got to kick it off with anybody else but the homie Stony. Stony, how you feeling, big dog?
Good, man. It's good to be back. Let's get into this APAC South action and see how this split is going to go for these lads. We have 20 teams out here today. Cue some names that we're used to seeing. Some names we're used to seeing on different teams out here as well today.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I feel like, generally we see, of course, going from split 1 to split 2, a lot of shakeup within most of our regions. I feel like here in APAC South, we haven't seen as much, but I think the one that everybody wants to talk about, of course, it's in this lobby. The team that finished on top in split number 1, we've got Wolves Esports, who, of course, made their change. No name, no longer on the roster, Stone.
Going to be a very interesting split to see how Wolves go with no name, but then go and get a world champion too, by the way. QQ on the same team.
Yeah.
I don't feel like any team has really lost from this swap at all between VK and Wolves. I do feel like Wolves it might take Wolves a while to get used to QQ on the team compared to what no name brings to Wolves. But I do feel like this team is still going to be one of the most scariest in the lobby today as well. We do have 6 games out here today, Q, and I guess the map rotation everyone might want to know.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that here real quick, as we're going to be getting started off on Storm Point and then going to everyone's favorite map when it comes to competitive Apex for match 4, 5, and 6, as we're going to be going down to E District. And I always love to see how E District plays out late game. It is of the maps that we do have in our rotation here in ALGS, one that I feel like gives us the most chaos. So to be able to end our very first match day here in split number 2 with it, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it works out for these teams going on Storm Point into E District. We don't have World's Edge today. We will obviously be live a lot this weekend, Q, which means that everyone around here will see a fair bit of World Edge play throughout the weekend. But yes, Storm Point and E District to kick off our night. Couldn't be any better for us out here. 20 teams out here, though, Q, that did have a draft on Monday night for these POI spots as well.
And it's interesting to me that we see, I feel like POIs that haven't been, let's say, as big of hitters still being picked up by some of our very notorious names. I think for me in particular, looking down at S8UL, still opting to push out of Cenote and doing so next to a Wolves esports squad landing at Mill, who we know loves taking fights if you're going to push their direction. So I feel like for S8UL, maybe more hoping that these things send themselves off towards that, eastern side of the map. And then I think the other thing for me that I'm going to be looking for is up in that northeastern side. PXX and Gen G still landing right next to each other as well.
Yeah, and we've got to remember how good PXX were in the back end of that split in split 1 as well. So a team looking to try and get things going today. I'm going to go down to the south side of things here, Q. And we've got a team back in Pro League, and that is CPR. That is Player K, Raki, and Crumbs. So a pretty good team down in that south side as well, next to Toboshu and Black Hole.
I am glad you brought up CPR. It was one of the teams that I definitely wanted to talk about here before we got into things. Because, yeah, a team that comes in through those PLQs, but you mentioned just off of namesake alone, you imagine with Player K and Rocky, 2 players that we have seen with plenty of experience. Of course, Rocky coming back from, I believe, taking Split off, if I'm not mistaken, then add in Crumbs to the mix. You feel like it's a team that should be pretty confident. You look about who's landing around them as well. They're probably not going to mind taking some early fights here on Storm Point.
All 3 players, I'm pretty sure as well, Q, did play in champs last year as well. So, or early in January this year. So a team that know what to do. And I feel like when it comes to that point in these kind of lobbies and in the split, and especially in a split that's so different to what we're used to seeing, right? It's 3-4 weekends straight, so much Apex. I feel like CPR are in a pretty good position here to set themselves up for a great day 1. Gen G Esports, a team that seem to be starting to find their way with the meta at the moment as well, Q.
Yeah, I think some of the changes that we have seen, even albeit somewhat slight, I do feel like have started to lean their way. I also feel like you mentioned started to figure things out a little bit later in split number two, or sorry, in split number one there on the back end. I feel like for them though, they do need to make sure that they don't fall behind in split number two. If they benefited actually from kind of a strong start to their split number one, which allowed for them to kind of have the ups and the downs that they did through the rest of the split and still be able to qualify for land. So
really love DCG out here as well. I feel like they actually kind of surprised us a little bit at split one. You saw the passion in that team, right? Rolly, I'm pretty sure, is very, very upset with himself at split one in EWC. I feel like this team's going to come out pretty strong here today as well. They're a team that I'm going to be watching for early on. I feel like with Shayo now starting to get his name into the thing, into the round of things, and then you got Rowie as well. It really feels like that DCG could have their split as well here to actually cement their legacy in split 2 early as well.
Yeah, remember we did have also that kind of big patch there before, what was it, essentially the last round of the round robin of group play, and it did feel like DCG was one of the teams that came out of that stronger than, say, those first couple of weeks of Pro League. So I would definitely expect to see them be able to carry that over here into split number 2. I think they also get the benefit of if they get some pulls their direction at Down Beast here on Storm Point, which we have seen generally a POI that gets you at least a pull or two in a set of 3 games here on Storm Point. I'm going to be excited to see where they sit on the scoreboard come that break time here as far as this first match day.
Give me your top 3, Q. I want to hear who we're looking at here today in the lobby. Now, we got a lot of teams. I feel like we haven't talked about S8UL as well. We got some big hitters out here today, Q, in game number, well, A versus B, our first block match day of this split.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm going to have to just put my top 3 on the table, it's going to be a lot of your expected names. S8UL is going to have to be up there. So surprisingly enough, I don't know if I'm going to put Wolves Esports. I think they'll probably be top 5, but not top 3. I'm going to have to go with S8UL. I'm going to go with PXX. Oh, and you know what? Let's go ahead and give me let's go and go with CPR with a top 3 in day number 1.
I like that. I like that. I feel like APAC South at the moment has 5 teams that are just the big hitters, right? We know the teams that are going to be in that top 5 as well. Majority of the whole time is VK, S8UL, Wolves, RRQ, and who was the last one I had? Oh my God. It was top 5. Gen G. And they're usually the top 5 that we're used to seeing in APAC South. And I feel like they're the top 5 that we're going to see a lot of throughout this split. But I'm going to go with Gen G, Wolves Esports, and I'm pretty sure I feel like it might be a pretty good day to be an S8UL fan out here as well. As saying that, Q, though, everyone that's sitting at home don't need to wait no more for getting into this game. It looks like we're ready to get into the action.
I love to see 60 out of 60 first load in on the lobby, baby. Let's go ahead and get ready to take to the skies. Let's look at it one more time before we go off to Storm Point here for groups A versus B. And when you were talking about some of those top 3, you mentioned S8UL, right? They're landing down there at Cenote. You also mentioned Gen G up at Lightning Rod. We had talked about them actually landing next to PXX up there at Zeus Station as well. So I guess let's go ahead and get down to it. Ain't no more time to talk about it. It is indeed time to be about it.
It's going to be an interesting first game. I can feel it. Q, and it looks like we might have a mill start to start off here as well, which would be great for Wolves and S8UL, but we do know that sometimes these zones decide to pull in the total wrong direction that Stoney says to start off the game as well.
And we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. If this does end up going Cito Station, that's going to be good for finishers who, if you're sitting there at home going, I don't remember finishers from split number 1, you might remember Victory Esports, but it does indeed looks like, as much as we talked about Mill didn't get quite as hooked up as it feels like they have in previous splits, we could very well be off to Mill here for Storm number 1.
Let's get into game number 1. I'm excited. We've waited a while here, Q, to get into the action, and it looks like we're about to get on the way here. It's going to be interesting to see, starting off, though, with a lot of these teams. Are they going to be aggressive, or is it going to be a nice, slow start here for game number 1?
Well, I know that we talked about it in the green room, and we didn't have really much of a reason to talk about VKG in this lobby because, well, they're not here. I think if there's anyone in APAC South that I would expect to be an instant, like, lobby disruptor, it's them. I think when you look at the 20 teams that are in this lobby, Stoney, I would anticipate that we might see maybe a little bit as far as early fights through some of the chokes, maybe going through Cito, checkpoint towards mill direction. But I think once everyone gets kind of right next to one another, we're not going to be seeing too much fight. And this is going to be one of those games where we've got 17, 18 squads here still in Ring 3.
Oh, my God. Basti getting rid of Fury at the moment. It does look like Fury now down to a solo. And that's not a good start for the boys that have made it their way through from PLQ.
Hey, big shout out to Fury, though. It's actually a throwback to the name from 2019-2020 in the region here, Stoney, where actually Jen Burton and Waltzy were playing with one another way back in the APAC South days. So I love to see the bring back of the good old Fury name.
It is good to see, but I have to wait to see if they can turn things around. Rendang on the backside of things here. Need to be careful, as it does look like they're rotating down towards TEC Academy. And that is Titan Esports Club. As you can see, they need to be careful as, well, Rendang looking pretty good here early on, Q.
Yeah, I mentioned this was where we might see some early fighting was through this choke point, and that's exactly what's breaking out here. Rendang's been able to pick themselves up a couple. The problem, though, is they could very well have not only TEC Academy to worry about, but there's also another squad that I thought was pulling up through Jurassic. SMP actually looks like they have decided to tuck tail and go the opposite way, which means Rendang does have themselves a little bit of safety here.
Rendang, the team we didn't get to talk about much in Split 1, didn't have the best split, but they did have some moments, Q, where it's like, hold on, this team could be something.
Yeah, I think, you know, you had mentioned as far as how it feels that, like, now there was the top 5 in APAC South. It felt like mostly through the split, it was like that 6, 7 mark. I got my first one to split in pretty early. Gotta love it, chat. But behind them, you talk about that next kind of wave. It really felt like between 8 to, I mean, really even back to 14, we saw a lot of movement from week to week, and Rendang kind of added themselves into that discussion towards the back half of the season. We wanted to take a look at this Wolves Esports squad. Well, Crazy Kong, they've already found themselves down, but DCG, they're out of here. They're out early.
Yeah, DCG go out early, and it is looking like teams are trying to prioritize these nuts out the back queue, and it's not a bad idea. We have seen a fair few zones pull out towards this area when it is pulling to mill. It does look like finishers are sitting on the height at the moment. This is the boys of Kukoi that we're used to seeing as well out here with VC.
To see some new names as far as team names and orgs getting brought into the mix. You always love to see them, whether big or small. So welcome in finishers coming into APAC South. You mentioned it was a team that it felt like at times did show some flashes. I feel like finishers, I would love to see them really be able to take things up towards the next level as well. I mean, both of those squads were teams you talk about were in the mix. Even for finishers, they were, they finished 10th. They were right on the outside of the bubble looking in.
Yeah, well, Kukoi were in Split 1, that was their name. They had an amazing Split 1. But now finishers obviously needing to try and keep that back end of the year that they had of Split 1 starting that way in Split 2. Now, remember, it's pretty grueling schedule, Q. You really don't want to be having 2 bad weekends in a row, because that only leaves you with 1 weekend left, unlike the 9 that we're used to.
Yeah, especially when before, like, you may only have a weekend where you're only playing 1 match day, depending on how the schedule played. You're playing 2 every week, and when you talk about only having 6 match days, you have 1 bad weekend. It's pretty rough. I even think back to over in Americas where we had seen, 100 Thieves kind of struggle their first week, and then even though they had a good, decent mid to back end of the split, just ended up on the outside of the bubble looking in. We do know that there have been teams who have been able to bounce back from one singular bad day, but when you talk about a weekend, it's so tough.
It's going to be an interesting start. Black Hole, another team that made their way through at the start of the year in that online open. absolutely dominated the first weekend of that Q. I think we were both like, wow, we don't even know which black hole team to go for because there was 2 out there that day. But that team definitely dominated, and well, they're looking to try and have a pretty good split too also. But S8UL looking to try and get some KP here at the moment in Cenote.
Is that black hole squad that sits on the other side? And I mean, remember, black hole, they did land on that southern side of the map as well. They have rotated down on the entire southern side coming over from coastal. S8UL, they haven't had to leave Cenote quite yet, so they should feel pretty confident as far as their kits and 3 blue evos all the way across. You've also seen as far as they're playing pretty spread. They've got a pretty good lay of the land. It's going to be a tough fight for black hole if they have to push through.
Wolves Esports already getting some KP on the board. When QQ and Crazy Kong out here, it's going to be interesting to see when Wolves and VK are both in the same lobby, Q. I actually can't wait for that weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun lobby to get into for sure. I think for me, though, Wolves Esports, if I remember right, in the Reignite tournament they just had, didn't have the best of performances. So going to be intrigued for me really to see these first couple of maps, how things play out. They're gifted a pretty good zone here, obviously. Remember, they did land over at Mill, and we've talked about split number 1 at nauseum. If you're gifted a zone, you have to capitalize.
And here we go. S8UL now deciding to rotate in. They do get it down already here, so Black Hole on the back foot. They do see that altar portal getting the pull back towards the main building. Nice little heady hold there. Played a little bit of COD here, Easty, but Easty and XXFPS, the last 2 standing here for Black Hole with S8UL playing pretty aggressive.
It's tough when your altar's the first one out too, right? You can't use that portal to be able to rotate around, and well, S8UL will be able to at least be able to pull that thing back to regroup here as well on the far side of Cenote. Meanwhile, finishers, we talked about seeing what kind of start they could get. Kassans has already found themselves knocked. Luckily, they'll be able to retreat to the low ground. Should be able to get back up onto their feet as Kirasami are also looking to try and get a reset.
A team we don't talk about enough as well, by the way. Kirasami, Ken, one of the nicest dudes I think we've ever met. Q, we had a really good chat with him at Champs in January, and going from coach to player and then making him, making their way to Split 1 playoffs as well. This team looking pretty good here to start off as well, trying to get their foot in the right spot here for game number 1. Kirasami, though, needing to try and hold it down. HABNW still trying to hold Godrock at the moment.
See what they can do as far as for HABNW, a squad that I don't want to say underperformed in split number 1, but when you finish just inside of the relegation line, it's not exactly where most teams want to be. And I think when you do look at a team that has a way of tasting blood, players that we've seen in Pro League before, we know that they've got that potential. I think the big thing that stands out to me, at least right now, looking down in the bottom left-hand corner, is that a Pathfinder in game number 1 here that I'm seeing Stony?
Yeah, oh, we're going to see some crazy stuff. It is APAC South. The land of... What was he thinking? As we can see, Tommy Salami trying to get some shots to hit here, and it does look like Raki might be caught out here as well as Crumbs. And it looks like they might need to be careful, as it is Black Hole who got a reset, looking to try and be aggressive as well.
You got the portal, though. I mean, you got the ult to get you the free reset. That's why we were talking about earlier that another squad that we had set on board with, I believe it was actually Black Hole who had theirs not, or had theirs down temporarily. Without them, that get out of jail free card is one that you don't want to play short of in your back pocket, as we see being used by S8UL to be able to regroup as a trio. Allow for them to be able to push off the squad that was trying to push in towards their low ground. Wolves Esports still playing out as far as on their position, and they'll be able to at least sit on this southwestern side of the zone in those buildings for now.
Go and have a look at the zone, see where we are heading, with Taboshu still on the very backside out here as well. And it does look like it is pulling more towards that south side. So where S8UL, Wolves Esports, and CPR are playing, Q. Pretty good spot to be here. Game number 1 and zone number 3.
And all teams that we talked about heading into this first match, and while they have found themselves some good real estate, they're all kind of right next door to one another. So we'll see if they're good with coexisting. It does feel like we've Talked about it a lot in split number 1. It feels like APAC South has gotten a little bit more comfortable with having those neighbors right next doors. You talk about for other squads, AvB is Black Rose going to be able to find a knock from across the way with the longbow. Nice Wig would be so proud if he was up and watching, but unfortunately not going to be able to find the elimination off of the back of that one.
Would have been way more proud if it was a Vantage as well, I reckon. So, unfortunately, it wasn't. It does look like we got a fair few longbows out here as well, Q. And as teams are trying to play it slow, 17 squads still standing with round 3, 40 seconds left before it starts to close.
Someone called that at the beginning of this game here, and that's even after a little bit more fighting earlier on that was expected. We do have a couple of squads, like finishers though, currently playing as a 2. SMP trying to avoid doing the same, but instead it will be all up to Koi, and it will be 2C1M who have pulled up. We're trying to make their way down south, and unfortunately, if you find yourself in their crosshairs, they have no problems putting you down.
You need to be careful though. It does look like AvB may be trying to be aggressive. Doom needs to be careful, as there is a lot of teams around this north side of Mill who need to make their way in as well, Q'd. 2 down here. They know that there's still that team on that northern side. They need to try and clean their back up just for that rotate in. CPR though, look like they might have their hands full, as it looks like Black Hole are rotating in. Beautiful shots coming out with the car. Does get a kidnap as well. Now he's going to take it himself. He gets on the backside. CPR now on the back foot a little bit. But they do get one down. It's down to Tommy Salami. Raki as well goes down. Salami might be the last one standing, and he will get eliminated. CPR go out in 16th. We have 15 squads left. Black Hole with 1 man standing.
I was going to say, are they going to be able to get themselves back up to a full 3? It is SAUL that is right next door, and oh my goodness, Sharky just says, I'm going to throw out every single thing in my pocket. You can take my nades, you can take my arc stars. None of them are going to be able to connect though. Gen G in some trouble over here on this northeastern side of the zone. Asia's has already been knocked, as we see PXX also goes out in that elimination feed. It looks like Gen G going to join them as well.
The SMP getting the job done. Sato, Mosu, and Paddy Fan. So getting the job done over here on Gen G. Toboshu now looking to try and get the third party. Beautiful shots coming out. Work will get down 1 and 2. Now it looks like SMP definitely on the back foot here in game number 1. And 2C1M also getting eliminated on the right side of our screen. We have 10 squads left standing. Now we talk about Toboshu. No one has really talked about him yet. They have been the most dominant APAC South CC team, I think, in probably the last 2 years. King MSG, G8, and Wirt have been playing together for so long. They will have... The best thing about it now for this split is that they are so used to playing with each other that I feel like that becomes their advantage coming into this split.
Will be fun to keep an eye on. We saw them have a pretty good go of things as well during the PLQ. Obviously, that's the reason that they're here today, as outside does fall in that 10th position. I'm not sure if Dreamfire is going to be able to get a reset, as it did look like maybe for a moment there's a team looking their way. Instead, it's ALGS who's now in the fight in this last little portion of the mill that is still currently inside this zone. Spades trying to spray away here with the car, able to find a little bit of damage, but instead will need to try to retreat back with their teammate. But it's Toboshu who full sends. It's the green light as they look to finish off the squad.
This is what they did in CC. This is what we're used to seeing from this team, and that is aggressive gameplay. They have 7 KP already, and they will clean up AvB as well. And Wirt putting in the work right now. 7 squads alive. The man out here with the kill leader with 7 kills as well.
They do got to be careful in this rotate in, though, because Wolves are fully healthy, and they are looking off in their direction. I believe that's actually, Wen, who does pick up the first knock here, and make their trip on in towards the zone that much tougher, as this round 4 does indeed knock. AvB will eventually need to push down from this high ground that they currently find themselves in. They'll add themselves to the mix as well, as Toboshu is out. Finisher's gone as well.
Toboshu getting eliminated with 9 kills at 6th position. Not a bad game there for game number 1 from the lads who made their way through in PLQ. ABNW looking to try and hold their own. A team that had a fair few wins in the back end of Split 1 as well. Looking to try and start off match number 1 here Or split 2 with a W as well. Black Hole somehow still alive. It feels like every time we're getting to this team, they are just full resetting every time.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer they're going to be alive, though, as it's a full trio from AvB who pull on up, and they should be able to clean this thing on up with ease. Their hope for AvB is while this is going on, Wolves pushing over towards the direction of S8UL. You would hope that that fight starts to break out so you can be the one that plays third party. The problem, though, is Wolves right now find themselves up on the high ground. And for S8UL, they're going to have to try and find a way to make this low ground work.
This would be a hell of a start for Wolves Esports with QQ on the team. Taking the first game as a win would be massive. As we can see, S8UL, though, they're taking spots off Wolves and do need to be careful because ABNW, they have a Kraber on the field, and the man that has it, Black Road, I was going to say, he's pretty dangerous, but he only has one shot left, so he needs to make it count.
Talked about a team that didn't really see much to be able to write home about in split number 1. Talk about starting split 2 off with a bang for ABNW. Just the fact that they found themselves here into this top 3 with the KP that they have, but they are in a very strong position to still potentially take things home with a dub. And that's even after you and I both questioned the team composition early.
Yeah, well, don't fix what's not broke, apparently. And at the moment, ABNW, it don't look like Pathfinder is broke for them. Ahoy needs to be careful, in a pretty good position. Wolves Esports now also put themselves in a pretty bad spot here, Q, considering they don't really have a catalyst or anything to really hold this position defensively.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure while they pushed into the low ground when S8UL was stuck underneath them. We did see that S8UL did queue up towards their position. Wasn't sure what forced Wolves into the low ground. I'm sure when they watch this VOD back, they might be double thinking that decision, because it's put them in quite the tough spot. They're now going to be with the first team essentially that's going to have to move. Not only do you have S8UL that's on the high ground, but on the farther side, ABNW is playing pretty wide, might be able to find this first entry damage with that Kraber as well.
This is a classic S8UL game too, by the way. Get themselves into such a good position that they're in this top 5. They had an average placement, I'm pretty sure, in split 1 of nearly a 5. So this team knows how to get to the end game. They're not a massive team in kills, but they put themselves in positions where points matter, and well, they're looking like they might take game number 1 as well. They have the Ultra up their sleeves. They also have the Crypto Ult in about 9% time. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, though. What are these teams going to do when you got ABNW looking at you on the outside?
I mean, everyone's hoping that the other 2 squads essentially start the fight first, right? And right now, we had talked about the split from ABNW as always, still far and away from the rest of the squad, but still with the mobility on that Pathfinder, can close that gap and join the rest of the squad on the high ground. Actually, looks like they're going to do that as we do speak, and that may very well give ABNW the final, I guess, dominant supreme height. And for them, as long as they don't push to the low ground too quickly, it should be ABNW that eventually walk away with this dub here.
It's going to be an interesting play. I want to see how exactly they plan to go through. If they get on height here, or if they move on the outside to where Wolves are. This is where it happens, and it does look like it will be where Wolves are, but they put themselves in a really good position, to be honest here, Q, with that Q.
All about this first fight, and where does it break down? Everyone playing oh so careful, but eventually it's a fight for a second as S8UL will send and take down Wolves. Unfortunately, Sharky does fall during the mix, and Jesco sitting on pretty low HP as well. ABNW hasn't been able to recognize that it's a duo down below them, but for now, just simply waiting for the go-ahead to push down.
Not able to. Oh, they dropped. Does look like they're going to full send as well. Blackroad now moving down. He's going to take game number 1 here of our match day 1. Will we see S8UL get eliminated? Yes, we will. ABNW taking game number 1 here of split number 2 for APAC South.
I also got to say, for a team that struggled in split number 1, you start off split 2 so well. I think that there's a lot of teams that, in said position would have gotten over eager on the high ground, right? You see that fight underneath, you full send and almost forget that the fact that you're playing against a team that probably has an alter and is able to queue up towards your high ground. Instead, it's discipline from AvB. They're able to utilize the high ground that they've played for and allow that to carry themselves across the finish line and not just pick up the dub, but 11 KP along the way means a 23-point game to start off their split number 2.
Yeah, that's huge. 11 kills, 9 kills coming from Black Road. Ahoy with 2, Tasting Blood doing what Crypto needs to do. And that is fine, the kills for Black Road and the Pathfinder out here in game number 1. And they'll be pretty happy with that. Like you said, Q, a 23-point game. But game number 1 is huge for HABNW, and they'll be very happy. S8UL second, Wolves third, Black Hole fourth, and Dreamfire round out the top 5. But let's go and have a look at our series overall after game number 1.
Go and take a look at it here. Is it will look pretty similar. The only thing that changes is the fact that Toboshu had those 9 KP down there in 7th place. Those 9 kills will allow them to finish in 4th overall. Just a point outside of that top 3. And well, for Toboshu, I feel like starting off winning a couple of team fights, you know that the gunnies are warmed up. Now you just hope for a pull or 2, and who knows, maybe there's a chance for that top 3 as far as for you, for your first day in split number 2 as well.
Yeah, with that team, though, I don't think they really care too much, to be honest, about placement points. They're a team that will just literally go for KP, and that is a... Well, they showed that in game number 1 with 12 points, only 3 placement points and 9 kills. Let's go and have a look at what legend is getting banned here in game number 1. And it doesn't look like anything is changing here, Q, as we are moving with the crypto ban for game number 1.
Yeah, I feel like we've still seen the first 3 bans pretty consistent across the regions, right? Sometimes the game order changes, but it's still pretty well crypto, alter, and then generally seer in those top 3s. I would be not... or I would be surprised, I should say, if that strays away from that sort of order here in APAC South as well. So crypto off the board, and we'll see if the rest will follow suit here in our final couple of games on Stormpoint.
Not a bad first game for HABNW. And if they're going to get more wins like that, Q, they need to get themselves a bloody logo. Because if we're going to be seeing them on this scene, these boys need to go and find themselves a logo. HABNW with the first win here on Stormpoint. 2 more to go before we head into E District. Let's go and have a look at who did all the damage and the kills though here in game number 1.
Black Road at the top as far as in those kills, picking up 9 of them things in game number 1. Wirt with 7, Sharky, Wen, and Doom rounding out the top 5 as far as those kills. When we look at our damage getters, though, it was Sharky at the top with just over 1,800 damage. Black Road just under 1,800 at that 1,770. Jesco, Wen, and KRS rounding out our top 5 as well.
Massive game from the boys of HABNW. And, well, letting it cascade falls here for their Stormpoint games and getting a pretty nice rotate in as well. I feel like they played that perfectly, having to get rid of the finishers at Cedo. They kind of just took their time with their rotate in. It felt like nothing was really rushed.
Nothing was rushed, and remember, they were one of the teams that was in that original mix-up, that little skirmish at Cedo Station, and instead of overcommitting to try and pick up some early points, they actually were the first team to disengage. They broke away from that, and, well, it ended up allowing themselves to feel pretty free as far as their rotate into that power position at the end. So sometimes we talk about those early game decisions, definitely one that paid off for them here in game number 1.
Yeah, massive, massive, massive. Gen G Esports, pretty quiet in that first game there, Q as well. Going to be interesting to see how that team goes. Now, I feel like they're a team that just always find their way in to, the Split 1 playoffs or the Split 2 playoffs all the time, because they just have those 2 to 4 games where all of a sudden it's just like, holy, I don't think there's another team better than this team in the world.
I talked to my boy Jay Keith out in Paris. I felt like I always kept cursing him in split number 1. So you ain't going to be hearing much of Gen G from me. I'm going to let them cook over on their side. But I agree. I feel like they are a team that no matter where they start on the scoreboard, you generally expect for them to find themselves at least into the conversation. Again, it's only one game, but I was surprised to see them fall where they did.
Game number 1 over, Q. We've got 5 more games to go here for our first day of APAC South. Is there anything you were looking forward to? I mean, so far, it feels like everything's kind of the same. It doesn't look like, too much is going to change out here in this lobby, but I'm pretty excited to see teams that we're not used to seeing out here doing well. That's AvB and Toboshu with two massive two teams having a massive first game.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a little bit more from CPR, but they were caught in that mix on one of those earlier rotates. And you did mention, though, to see some teams that maybe didn't quite get their shine on in split number 1. You do indeed love to see AvB. Now the question is, can you find a way to duplicate that? You've shown yourself the ability to pick up dubs. At this point, you really only need to pick yourself up a few points here and there. It's that whole thought process of anywhere between 6 to 8 points, per game. Yep. Now that you've had yourself that pop-off game, you'll be able to put yourself in at least a good point as far as our collection point as far as those points for the split here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a great set of games. We still have so many more. And just so you guys know, we are live all day, basically. Tomorrow from 12 p.m. SGT, we are live again for APAC South at 5 p.m. SGT. We will be doing our first ever Pro League APAC North English stream. Now, that is so exciting to say out loud. We get to watch Unlimit, who we were talking about it before we come in. They had a pretty slow start today here in the lobby before APAC South. Unfortunately, they start at... It's a time where it kind of overlaps with APAC South. It's kind of scary to do. So,
we'll see if they end up if we end up having to wait. We might as well just go ahead and jump in there.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what's 36 games of Apex every weekend? So
it's an extra 6 game. You know what I mean? We're already doing 30. Well,
true. But we're excited. We've got so much Apex the next 2 days. May have a lot of blokes out here to sound like nice week.
I'm pretty pumped about it. I mean, I feel like when you look how split number 1 went for APAC South, and even just how things went in APAC in general, obviously having 2 APAC North teams that were in contention to win at the end of things, not just Unlimited, but Zeta Division, who did look very, very good as far as today. We'll get to catch them later on this weekend, but I feel like it's two regions that are still wanting to very much create their narratives and being like, hey, we have the same sort of talent and are worthy to be in the discussion, the same way that it feels like everyone hypes up America's, right? There's definitely the same amount of talent and other regions as well, where we've seen it with now APAC South has been able to put some quality teams together, not just only having 2 or 3, but multiple teams in the discussion. APAC North is there as well. But hey, you know what? It's time to go ahead and take to the skies here again for Storm Point. It's time for game number 2, and we had so much fun with a central-ish zone. I said, you know what? Let's push things just a little bit more towards the middle, and I'm sure for AvB, they're hoping things pull up a little bit more towards their directions at Cascade Falls.
Yeah, we're getting a nice little mix here already for Storm Point. I'll tell you what, I might have just jinxed it if this pulls to uplift TEC Academy with the best POI draft once again, because we did have a fair bit of uplift right next to Cascade, but we are going back to Cedo near Mill as well. So Finishers, Wolves, and S8UL getting gifted another zone here in game number 2.
And we are wondering how Wolves were going to look in their first bit of ALGS action after the roster change between QQ and No Name. And then you're gifted 2 zones. I'm not sure what the pregame ritual was, but might want to keep that in the back pocket because they are definitely getting blessed up by RNGesus here early. SAUL, you mentioned as well, won't have too far to go, landing down here at Cedo Station. Remember, we had seen them pick up quite a few KP along the way, especially early before they even rotated out of Cenote.
Yeah, they did pretty well. Finishers also now looking to try and get their way into zone. It looks like they're waiting for that Evo Harvester. It has popped up. We'll get their blue shield. It looks like they're aiming to head to Bean here, but teams flying in already. It does look like Wifu might be in a little bit of trouble as AvB looking to try and get some KP here on the board as well.
I mean, if you just had a pop off in game number 1 and then you're starting to land in towards your next spot and you see a team kind of with one player sectioned off, why wouldn't you drop right on them and find a way to pick up an elimination? The problem, though, is now you've got a player that's knocked as well, and it is confirmed. It wasn't a misclick. It is Pathfinder still out again here in game number 2, this time playing alongside a Gibby and a Watson.
Yeah, it's interesting, but hey, they won game number 1 at the moment. It works. So they are okay. Finishers. Very lucky there, as it was Wifu who was trying to get that Evo Harvester. Did get it though, Q. So they will have their blue shields and stay alive here as well.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of teams are reading this still pulling more towards the direction of Sito as towards Mill, despite the fact that we had seen those touching western side of the circle. Outside the ring, currently inside the ring and trying to keep themselves alive. Fafa Thief has already found themselves knocked, and saying an A-flow sitting at relatively low HP as it's Rendang who sits just on the other side, but they're going to try and prioritize their resets, but it's a pair of Arc Stars that's going to take out outside the ring.
A lot of teams getting aggressive here as well. You can see the shots coming out. Yubi needs to be careful. Oh my god, beautiful longbow shots coming out though from Doom. 19 squads now left alive as outside. The first team eliminated, only on 5 points now. Fury, well, they weren't very lucky in game number 1. They got caught out, as I'm pretty sure it was AvB actually that got the KP on that team as well. 19 squads still standing. Round number 1 closing here in game number 2.
Yeah, if it wasn't AvB, they were in that mix of those players that were rotating through Sito very early in game number 1. There was a few squads there, and they were the unfortunate ones that got caught in the crossfire of multiple squads. Ubi here have been able to find themselves a nice little space of real estate, and thanks to the fact that they've got that Watson to be able to kind of lock down some of those doors, they've also got the pylon to lock down inside. I would imagine they're not going to be looking to move anywhere anytime soon. Finishers also have themselves a nice little spot here up on the high ground in one of these little nodes.
ALGS, the team that we're used to seeing, was Veneno. Pretty sure that's who they were in Split 1 as well. I could be wrong.
Yep, correct.
But ALGS looking to try and get their name on the board here in game number 2 as well. A lot of teams still standing out here. 19 teams, as you can see. Rendang going to try and get another reset here as it's Kurosami, which is being quite annoying to these teams close by.
There are a couple of teams that are all within these buildings, whether these are these little squares or those little the little circular guys that sit down low as well, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out, 1, how they can upgrade those Evos, but 2, see if they can pick up a couple of KP, at least see if they can calm things down, because right now there are 5 teams in the depths of Sito Station. Then you've got Fury along with AvB and TEC Academy on those buildings on the outsides of the bridges as well.
19 squads. Rendang very close by. A lot of Seers out here as well at the moment, Q. As we know, Crypto goes. Seer usually the next one to go. Be interesting to see if that keeps course as well.
A lot of Seer and a lot of Alter. I'm going to be curious which one of those two ends up being taken off the board here after game number 2. We are at the point where, while there is a lot of shots going off here as this ring number 1 closes, not a lot of actual action unfolding. Just kind of players, again, trying to figure out ways that they can upgrade those Evos. Most of these teams, with the fact that they have those altars at play, they all know that they got that get out of jail free card. So the last thing that you want to do is overcommit and 1, lose your altar, but then 2, get put into a position where someone can queue into your position as well.
Finishers now just trying to hold down home at the moment. Avisan for AvB, who joined AvB late. As we know, Easy Flash did leave AvB in that mid-split one roster change and went over to RRQ. Probably one of the best teams in our region at the moment as well. RRQ getting that Reignite Cup win the other day as well and did it pretty easily.
Yeah, they were a team also. They were one of the first ones that were on match point at EWC as well. RRQ is a team that felt like after the roster change just got better with time. So I will definitely be super excited to see them out on the battlefield here over the course of the next 2 days. If any of these teams are wanting to be able to keep up with the pace that RRQ is likely to set, they need to make sure they can really springboard themselves here in this group A versus B when RRQ is not in the lobby.
Fury had an amazing PLQ, by the way, as well. I think we both said it afterwards when we were surprised by a team that we didn't really know much of. But Fury, you're going to have to try and prove their worth here in Split 2. And, well, they only get 4 weekends to do it. 19 squads still standing. Let's go and have a look at the map, though, here in game number 2.
And let's actually make sure that everyone realizes how important things are. It's not 4 weeks, it's actually 3 weeks. That fourth week, you have to be top 20 to even get to play there. You only get 3 weeks to be able to set the tone, which goes back to the point that you were making earlier, Stoney. It's one thing to have one bad match day. It can't be a weekend with the way that the schedule is right now.
Go and have a look. HABNW. Game 1 winners. 19 squads left alive. Kissan's now trying to figure out what exactly they can do from this position. This next zone pool, though, Q, is going to be a hard one for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, as much as teams were expecting this to be pulling into the depths of Cito, it's not going to be so much the case, which means a lot of these teams are going to have to be pushing towards the direction of HABNW. I'll be curious to see how much that squad prioritizes picking up KP behind them on these teams to the east, teams like finishers, or are they going to try and push further off west and prioritize a good zone as far as in that rings 3 and 4? If they do push away, that does mean teams like finishers could still be more of that gatekeeping teams to the teams that are further out west from them.
We love DCG. Went down pretty early in game number 1. Now going to move in. Beautiful shots. PXX now getting it down. It looks like it's going to be a little bit of a trade-off here, but it does look like maybe the door has been taken on the other side, and Wolves Esports also looking to try and third this as well.
Talked about for Wolves being gifted back-to-back zones here. They're able to have a decent finish in game number 1. The last thing you want to do is suffer yourself an early elimination here, as you're still would be going out in that 19th spot, not even picking up any of those placement points. DCG hasn't had to rotate too far from their initial landing spot of Down Beast. They've essentially been able to push Wolves away far enough away from Mill. They're essentially the lone owners of the deed here for now.
PXX as well, now down to a duo, but they do have the banner in hand. Just gonna be quite hard for them to get a reset, as I'm pretty sure the only reset that they can use is inside that spider cave on the other side. So pretty tough position here for PXX. Wait and see how this is going to go. 19 squads still alive, though. Round 2 about to be finished closing here, Q. So far, the quality we can't complain about.
No, I mean, still seeing a lot of teams still up on their feet. I mean, 19 squads still up, only one of those being a duo, and we had just seen them on our screen there of PXX, and it actually looks like the one player pushing up in towards the storm itself, XD, I believe, is actually going to be able to try and get their third back into things here as well. There's a chance, though, on the southern side of the zone, we could be seeing Toboshu or CPR being eliminated relatively quickly here, as CPR has been able to get back towards their building, but it is S8UL that's knocking on the doorstep.
Oh, Tommy Salami, though, does get down one, and I tell you what, the nades that came in from Crumbs before he went down actually put S8UL on the back foot early. Dreamfire come in and clean it up. We now have I think only one man left standing here for S8UL. S8UL get eliminated. Dreamfire clean this up. We have 17 squads left standing.
What's crazy to think about is Deboshi was actually the first squad of those three that had suffered a knock, but King was actually able to break away and find themselves a little bit of safety and is actually currently getting their two teammates back into play as well. They'll be looking to try and find themselves a spot. We love DCG. We had talked about from them, they had landed down at Down Beast and now trying to find themselves a spot in one of these buildings. They'll queue right on up into the mix, and now we'll look to follow the final portal from that opposite team up onto the roof, but unfortunately I think it's right into the crosshairs of 3, and DCG might have overextended here.
PXX get a full reset as well, so they will need to be careful as really love DCG. Looks like Pite's the only one down. XD and Jackie Chan looking to maybe try and get involved. DCG do get the reset here, and it looks like Shayo, Rowie, and Louis San trying to keep their foot on the pedal here as well. 17 squads though, finishes and TEC Academy on the right hand side getting eliminated here with Zone 3 about to start closing in 50 seconds.
Yeah, this kill feed's about to get a little crazy with all of the teams that were buried deep inside of Sito Station. Also, down here by this man cannon, you have Toboshu, who is taking a fight with Dreamfire. And you've got a third party that's pulling up on the backside as well, as that's Genji looking to Senji and pick up some big KP here early in game 2.
Oh my god, Asia's is back. 3 kills on the board for the Laz Genji Esports getting their KP, and they're doing it how they're used to doing it, right? Rotating on this edge, cleaning up the mess. Now they get themselves into zone, but closest team to them, well, they're at Godrock, so they're pretty okay at the moment.
Seems around that side. We'll have a little bit of time and a little bit of space. ALGS in these squads that were buried deep inside of Sito Station, and we're seeing just how tough this rotate is. Spades will eventually end up falling to the storm as we're now into top 10. Rendang trying to see what they can do as a duo.
PXX, ALGS eliminated. 8 squads now left alive. Round 4, 1 minute and 15 seconds away from closing. 23 members still out on the board here. As we can see, 1 minute left before round 4 starts to close. Let's go and have a look at the zone and see where everyone is. And this zone does pull back into Cedo. Considering we thought it might be pulling back towards Mill, it does do the reverse pull. Genji, Esports, SMP, HABNW, Rendang, and Fury all in pretty good positions here.
It's going to be interesting to see what the game plan is for Wolves, because they could be rotating on the southern side of the zone. They'll have an isolated fight with Genji, and I think for those two teams, if you're in a fight against that other dominant squad in the lobby, you'd hope to have that thing isolated on that southern side. But you do look towards HABNW. Remember, they won game number 1, and they do have one of the few buildings that will still be left completely inside of this 4th ring when it continues to close. This is a great spot for them to continue to hold.
Great start from Wolves Esports. Top 8 right now. Do need to rotate in, obviously, still, but game number 1 you can't complain about, and now game number 2 looking pretty good out here as well with the boy QQ. Wolves though now just going to try and hold off as well. They need to be careful because Genji on their backside here as they are holding Bean.
Genji will have control of the southern side of this 4th ring. The problem is once the ring closes, there's not much natural cover they can play behind. A couple of these rocks that you do see where Asia's is currently sitting, and even that they'll have to fall a little bit further back in towards and won't have too much coverage. I had mentioned before, the question becomes, what does Wolves do on their walk in from Mill, because DCG is just up to the north of them. Genji could be the beneficiary of a third party if that fight were to break out, but we see DCG instead is taken out by 2C1M.
DCG getting eliminated. Wolves Esports trying to make their way into zone. 2C1M now getting into it as well as they're trying to fight. I think it's Fury. Fury getting some KP. There's only 1 man left standing. This is a great game for Fury. If they can clean this up, which they will, 2C1M getting eliminated. Now they can get a full reset once again here and try and slow things down. Nexon, the only man left that needs to get pulled up for Fury, and they're sitting in the top 6 after a pretty slow start in game number 1.
The good thing for Fury is the 3 teams that could all look their way have teams directly next door, so no one's going to push them while they get reset. We had talked about the isolated fight, however, between Gen G and Wolves Esports. Well, that is finally kicked off here. QQ currently the only player for Wolves that is sitting on that purple Evo, though. Wolves a little bit lacking in that department, as Gen G on the opposite side are sitting not only in height, but they've got the triple purples as well. When will be the first player to get knocked? Aegis rounds the corner with the Prowler, and it will be Gen G who sends Wolves back to the lobby.
Gen G getting some KP on the board. They have 9 kills now, sitting in the top 5. So still some more KP to be had here from Gen G Esports, but they need to get their rotate in a little bit more towards that northern side.
Good news is it does seem like most of those other teams that are currently inside the zone are more all looking towards one another. Gen G should be able to walk in and have most of the control of the southwestern side of the zone as it closes, because you do have Fury alongside SMP and HABNW, who are all within meters of one another. HABNW, the little building that they're sitting in, will still be within this 5th ring as well. The question becomes between SMP and Fury, who's going to take that first fight?
5 squads, as you said before. HABNW still alive, and I like this by the lads, Q. They're playing zone, they're locking themselves in a position that they know that they can sit in this top 5 if no one decides to push. So far, so good by HABNW. Can't really complain. Beautiful shots coming out, as well as we can see teams trying to rotate in, and I don't know who exactly that is, but it's easy pickings here at the moment for HABNW.
Yeah, that was SMP who was trying to knock on the door there, but HABNW said no Girl Scout cookies today and sent them right on back to get reset. And that now puts HABNW in a tough spot. The good news is, well, I was going to say that that SMP is looking for the reset, but Rendang quickly pushes into their spot and has eliminated them. They're looking to try and push towards the top 3 position.
NG Esports, by the way, have now put themselves basically in God spot. Aegis with the unlimited 30-30 ammo does have the Prowler auto as well in the hand. Gen G in a top 4 situation, trying to get a game 2 victory.
Realistically, with how much real estate Gen G has down here on this southwestern side, they should be all right. The question really becomes as far as if anyone can find a way to put pressure onto Fury, who is the team who sits on the furthest side of the zone. Because if Fury ends up getting knocked, then Gen G basically gets to come in and play third party to the third party and just have custodial duty to take home the dub here in game number 2.
Ziki, Dexter, making their way downtown.
Walking fast.
We'll have to wait and see. HABNW, they're in a pretty good spot now as well. Now with the Gibby Bubble and Watson pylon out, they have time to try and set things up and try and stop this push as well from these teams on this western side.
I keep forgetting about the pathy here for HABNW. I wonder if you try and utilize that zip for a quick push across towards Gen G's position. Instead, Gen G pushes all the way up towards the next door, and they're going to be sending shots across towards Fury. We had talked about, could anybody find a knock on a Fury? Gen G might have just done that themselves.
My God, Gen G just look disgusting right now.
It's over.
The Prowler. Asia's just having way too much fun at the moment. This is a GG here for game number 2. Gen G Esports going to be getting their name on the board earlier than expected here for Split 2 APAC South, and Gen G have woken up with an absolute banger 18 kill victory in game number 2.
You know, all of the back end of Split number 1, we kept saying they are 1 game away. They just need 1 game to catch fire. When will that game be for Gen G? And while it never ended up coming across in the back half of Split number 2, to be able to find this sort of momentum just 2 games into Split number 2 could be exactly what this squad was looking for as far as getting back towards the top of APAC South. Not just being able to pick up a dub, but 18 kills along the way as well. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, massive game from the lads. 18 kills. That's a 30-point game here in game number 2. Rendang with 12 points. Fury with 12. AvB with coming 4th. And SMP rounding out our top 5. A series overall after 2. It's going to look like this with Gen G sitting on top. AvB second. Wolves Esports third. S8UL 4th. And Toboshu rounding out our top 5. And so far so good. I did say I feel like our top 3 big dogs are gonna be pretty good today, and it looks like Gen G and Wolves and S8UL trying their hardest out here so far in our first 2. Let's go and have a look at what legend is getting banned here as well.
Well, it ends up being the Seer before the Altar. We talked about how usually those top 3, it's a matter of what order they end up getting banned. And now it's the Crypto and the Seer that will be taken off of the board heading into our last rendition of Storm Point here in match day number 1 of APAC South. And the question becomes, does that mean Altar is the next one in the crosshairs?
Seems to be either Altar gets banned game 1 or doesn't get banned at all. So
yeah, I know.
Have to wait and see how this is going to work out here as well. But a very big game from the lads of Gen G. And well, Q, you got to hang out with some of the big Gen G dogs not long ago in EWC.
Yeah, I got to go out and hang out with them for week number 4. And, you know, we got to talk a little bit about ALGS. Obviously, it wasn't great talks, right? Not the hopes that they were having for split number 1, but they were still very promised about things that could unfold here in split number 2. Talked about the fact that, you know, keeping the roster together, it felt like maybe we're starting to figure things out. And, well, it's starting to prove at least being in the pudding here as far as in game number 2. I feel like for them, if they can get cooking and stay cooking, they're going to be eating well for quite a bit of split 2 here, Stoney.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. I'll tell you what, this team, if they start getting used to the meta and they just take control of APAC South, it is scary times here for the lads. But don't want to get too excited. It is only game number 2 of a very, very interesting split here, split number 2. Let's go and have a look, though, at who is leading the way in our kills and damage.
Well, it's Asia's who had a pop-off in game number 2, who is now at the top of our leaderboard right now in kills. The only one who's hit double digits thus far. Black Road at 9, Word at 8, Zicky with a big 7 as well, and Wen rounding out the top 5. We'll go ahead and look at our damage getters as well as far as the top 5 in those. And unsurprisingly, it's Asia who sits at the top, almost at 3K. Black Road in second, QQ in third. We got KRS in 4th, and we also have another Wolves player, Wen, rounding out the top 5.
Let's go and have a look. Actually, let's go have a look at one more time at our POI draft spot and see exactly where Gen G got that win from. And well, from the very northern side of zone. Not a bad game for the lads, considering, well, their rotate down would be pretty cool to see on a replay map.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually where Gen G thrives, though, right? Is having to rotate on their way in, being able to thrive on the outside of the ring, fight their way on in. And it's kind of funny when you think about the top 5 right now. We've had 2 zones that have basically been Cito and Mills area. Our top 5 are HABNW, Wolves, S8UL, all landing in that mix. And then it's Toboshu and Gen G who are about the furthest POIs from where the circles ended up going. It's just always fun to see how that mix goes in over the course of this match day.
S8UL, that's a no-take. So far, haven't had the best set of games. They're not the team, well, they're not a team that have just come out very aggressive, right? They put themselves in great positions. So far, so good as well. I feel like they're a team that is exactly like Gen G, where they just seem to get their name on the winning side of things no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, when you take into consideration the teams that are currently sitting inside the top 5, right? Gen G, HABNW, Wolves, S8UL, and Toboshu. right now, S8UL, technically of those 5 squads, the lowest in the kills department. They've gotten most of their points off of placements, but that's also what matters the most when you talk about at the end of things for like a LAN, right? And I feel like that's one thing that we see S8UL is they continue to play that international style play. They're not worried about chasing down KP. They'll just be consistently consistent. They know it's going to put themselves in the hunt for that podium at the end of the day.
Yes. So far as well, HAB and W, they're kind of surprising me with these games so far. They only had 3 kills. They put themselves in the top 5 position in that game. So they put themselves in a position to get another W. But with a team like Gen G sitting outside, and you got Asia's now most likely going to play Axel for 6 games. Kind of scary out here for these lads.
You know, you mentioned the Axel. I just wanted to, I guess, take that to bring it back to the Gen G from when I felt like we had seen when Axel was released. I think you and I both said that like screamed Asia's, and we were wondering why didn't see more of that. Well, Asia's starting to figure it out. I think that does mean some scary things for the rest of the lobby. I'll also be intrigued to see some of our other, big hitters that like to play out on the edge if more teams start to adapt to that style. Because I feel like when we talk about inside of APAC South, generally speaking, Gen G is one of those teams that I don't want to say sets the meta, but a lot of teams look to, especially like the aggressive edge play from Asia's. We've seen that in the past with, say, where other regions might prefer, say, like one of the prefer like the rifles guns. Yeah. We saw that APAC South, they prefer the 9.9 because that's what Asia's is able to put out the most damage with. So I'm going to be curious to see if maybe he sets that trend in the same sort of fashion with the Axel.
Scary. I mean, if Toboshu and crew decide to join Path, it does feel like, I know what you're saying, where sometimes some teams just want to join the same party as Gen G, and then all of a sudden we have 18 teams on edge and no one in zone. But so far, we haven't had any of that, and it's kind of worked in Gen G's favor because it does seem like in around the zone 3, zone 4, we've still got 19, 18 squads left alive, which means that majority of those teams are sitting in zone, which gives Gen G the chance to rotate in from the edge as well. So not too far away from getting into game number 3. It does look like they're about to load in. Let's go and have a look at the POI draft one more time before we get into our last game of Storm Point here and head over to ED.
Well, we've seen 2 zones that have basically been between Cito and that mill area. So that's part of the reason we've seen some great games from S8UL, Wolves, HABNW, who have all had kind of priority on those rotates. You do wonder if we end up getting ourselves maybe something over towards Launchpad, maybe even a devastated coast. Does that allow for some of those teams maybe in that bottom right-hand corner of the likes of Rendang or maybe even a Black Hole to be able to get their footing before we head off to E-District?
Have to wait and see, don't we, Q? I mean, we just need a north side zone. I don't think I've seen a north side zone on Storm Point for a hot minute. So just give me a wall zone, even North Pad. I can't remember the last time I seen one pull out to 2C1M or DCG.
I was gonna say, I feel like we saw a couple towards wall, but those were about the only ones we have seen, I feel like, for sure, on Storm Point as of late. If there's anyone who's up in that northern side who's hoping to get anything but that, I'm sure, is Gen G. I'm looking around the lobby, though. I'm pretty sure looking at a 60 out of 60, and even starting to see some legend selects starting to come across. And for those wondering, HABNW still bringing in the Pathfinder 3 for 3 here on Storm Point. They have been seeing quite a bit of success on that. Like you mentioned, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I do feel like as much as there are legends that are meta currently, we've seen across the regions that if you've got a really strong grasp on something off meta, sometimes playing a little off the beaten path allows you to carve your own lane. And ask, and you shall receive, Stoney. Looks like we're off towards the north.
Thank God. Have to wait and see, though. Crazier things have happened, and this could pull back to Cascade, so I'm not going to be saying anything until we get into this action here for game number 3. Our last one on Storm Point, already nearly halfway here of our first match day of split number 2. We wait to see where this pulls. Yes. Let's go. Does look like PXX and the boys, the team's on that northern side now in a pretty good spot. Don't need to worry too much about things at all for game number 3, as 20 squad still standing. Gen G also still running the exact same legend loadout as well.
Big zone up here towards the north could be good for PXX. Realizing my mic was muted after I had coughed, and that is my fault there, leaving you all solo dolo for a moment. But yeah, where this thing's ending up here, somewhere between Wall and Zeus Station, there's actually 2 teams up there who have had relatively quiet storm points thus far that could benefit. That will be not only PXX, but ALGS as well, formerly known as Veneno. They'll be hoping that Gen G maybe counter-rotates away and stays away from the mix for a bit. See if they can get themselves a nice little spot etched into this northern side of the zone.
I've got a funny feeling. I just feel like Gen G might send this, and it does look like that might be exactly what they do. But Kirasami also doing the exact same behind Gen G, as it looks like Zoyo, Ken, and Hugh. Yes, the hardest name ever, I reckon. KRS rotating in here as well. 20 squads left standing here in game number 3.
I've just started calling him KRS, and then I literally just realized all of them have KRS at the end of their name. But that's just going to have to be what we go with. Cause I ain't trying to be able to. That's a tough one. We're going to have to talk to them and get a pronunciation or something in the background. We mentioned Gen G might be looking to rotate early. They're up towards the north. They're in Zeus Station trying to get a little bit of that Evo going. For ALGS, though, they are already in a fight that's outside the ring who have pulled up. Thief, though, will end up being knocked, and it looks like PXX have pulled up and said, ain't no party like a third party.
I feel like this ain't going to be the only party that some teams rock up to as well. As we already have 3 teams in this area, and well, for ALGS, they'll be pretty happy with that situation. That gives them a chance to reset. Now they get to hold this spot that they rotated in early for.
Able to withstand for now. They do still technically have that duo from outside the ring next door, but it looks like they're not too concerned about them. For now, they'll be able to use that charge rifle off of the hands of Spades to be able to keep other players at bay. And I do like the spot for ALGS as long as they can keep people away for now.
For now, that's all they have to do is just hold this and play slow. PXX looking down on them, and the only thing that can help ALGS at the moment is, well, they got Gen G behind them, PXX. They will need to be worrying about the teams on that eastern side as well.
Not only do they have them, but they have Kirasami as well, who has started to poke their way through that choke too. So I don't know if PXX is going to be straying too far away from their position. And I mean, probably for good reason as well, right? Where they're sitting at on this northern side should be able to yield them a pretty strong finish, even if they don't pick up much KP along the way.
Squats. No one dying as of yet. 2 minutes still left here till round 1 is finished closing. As I say, that does look like Rendang getting aggressive here in Wall as well.
A couple of squads here inside of Wall. I'll be curious to see how long these teams decide to use the safety of the 4 walls of the building that they currently sit inside. It is finishers who will be able to get Cassans back up onto their feet. They've been relatively silent today, only picking up 6 points through these first 2 games. Of course, there are some teams who will hope to try and have a better performance on E-District, but still you would like to at least pick up a good 5, 6, maybe even 8 points here in this game number 3.
Yeah, you already said 6, 7 once, mate. You nice little skip there. Well done. 20 squads now still standing. I think I've said that about 100 times so far here in game number 3. We still have a minute and 20 seconds left here until round 1 is fully closed, and it doesn't look like many teams looking to be too aggressive here early on. Black hole. Trying to find their way into zone. Rotating through Cedo at the moment. Looks like they will make their way through Cascade and the Spider Cave as well. But it does look like that has already been done. Dreamfire very close by.
I like the feel of that spot.
Enemy in sight over there.
It does look like they might wait and get this KP, and that's a beautiful little down, and it looks like they're going to send and get rid of one member just like that.
And Kickstart sent out as well, as it looks like that'll give them the green light to hunt down these last couple of players as well. One sent up in the sky, and it's easy pickings here for KZU, who will find a second as they look to hunt down the third.
I think you said a team's going to follow suit. Are we going to see teams run the same as what we're used to seeing when Gen G get going? Will we see some more Axles? And well, yeah, there's your answer right there. Dreamfire looking to be aggressive with Chago on the Axle.
It looks like SAUL was looking to rotate through the position where Dreamfire were, and I guess enough time had passed. SAUL actually decides to rotate back down towards the south, away from where this zone is heading, and it could very well end up putting themselves in the crosshairs of CPR. We'll have to keep an eye on that, as actually maybe CPR rotating away from their spot. Wolves, however, on the northern side, it looks like they've decided to finally cause a little bit of disruption here at these houses where outside currently sit inside of. I don't know if they realize it's a duo just quite yet.
Once they do, Wolves Esports ain't going to be too afraid at all of sending this, and I don't also think it would stop them if it was a 3-man. So Wolves Esports are going to hold this nut for now. And we still 19 squads left standing with a minute left until round 2 does start to close. And as you can see, that is where everyone is standing at the moment. A lot of teams still on that outside, on that south side.
Talked about the position PXX was in earlier, still holding as far as on that high ground, being able to look back over towards ALGS, as well as still be able to secure their backside where Gen G and potentially SMP and TEC Academy could also be looking to rotate as well. But on our screens, we'll get that information that this thing will continue pulling up towards the north, which means right now, the duo of outside will have to try their best to continue to stave off the squad of Wolves, because their position is a great one.
Yeah, it is a good one. That northern side is going to be the spot that teams are definitely want to hold in this later stages of the game. And well, we're used to seeing 19 squads left alive around this time of the game, and this is where it sometimes gets out of control. But for Gen G, they've had kind of forced to play a little slow, as zone was gifted to them here in game number 3.
Yeah, I do like to see the discipline from them, though, right? Like, they just being able to stay right on. They went from Lightning Rod up to Zoo Station, didn't have to go too far. They'll be able to get just a little bit of the extra information from there. And for now, they'll just slowly walk the direction of that. I guess you could still call it northwest, mostly west from their position, but they'll have their basically whole south side cleared.
They can get a kill or down on PXX. I do feel like we may see the fastest full send of today. Nice 108 coming out from Asia. So far, still just relaxing for now. PXX do need to be careful, because that team at the moment, quite scary, Q.
PXX, you know what they have the potential of, right? We've seen them have their pop-off moments in split number 1, and they were able to be consistent even outside of those pop-off moments as well. It was part of the reason that PXX was able to finish 4th last split. They were, I mean, really one of the silent assassins, if you think about it. We were constantly talking of the likes of Wolves Esports, of the likes of you know, VKG and SAUL, but PXX has just as much consistency capability of those squads as well, despite the fact that I feel like we don't really talk about them much, Tom.
Yeah, we don't. They're definitely a team that we said before know how to make some noise. And when it comes to a 3v3 situation, I feel like PXX can hold their own against anyone in this lobby. So PXX and Gen G definitely going to have to get it out soon. It'll be an interesting fight on that eastern side of zone. As you can see, a lot of teams in command center here as well, Q. It looks like S8UL might be in a little bit of trouble as Sharky goes down. It is Dreamfire being aggressive. Down goes Chago. The Axel full sent into the open, and it's going to be CPR looking to try and clean this up as there's only one member left standing. Oh, there's two, but Dreamfire now with only one man out here, and CPR is still trying to be aggressive.
Well, there was 4 squads at command center. Dreamfire gets eliminated, but added to the mix. Well, I was going to say Toboshu, but we see them get eliminated quickly up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. S8UL was able to take them out as TEC Academy is trying to hold out the likes of S8UL, who's knocking at the door for now. Unfortunately, Sharky will be the first to fall. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get them back up on their feet, especially as Jesco falls as well.
S8UL, they kind of had to send that TEC now. Getting the clean up. They're going to try and take that Axel portal. Yes, they will. So the Nexus back towards zone. And we'll be able to try and get the drag up as well here for TEC Academy. Beautiful shots coming out from SMP. They get rid of CPR. We now have 15 squads left standing. And it looks like Kurosami have a Kraber on the field in the hands of the Mad Maggie.
CPR having a rough go of things here, man. Currently sitting down in that 19th spot, and another early elimination means they're not going to be able to add very many points to that tally. And right now, I mean, it's literally, I think it's 2 points is all that they've been able to pick up here on Storm Point. Kurosami, we had talked about them in this choke earlier as they do sit somewhat next to PXX, but with the Kraber in hand here as far as for KRS, it could mean some pop-off potential. A couple of shots sent in the direction of Gen G, who are up in the sky. It looks like Gen G actually looking to send here as they land directly on ALGS.
But they do get the kickstart to hit all 3 members here of ALGS. Dexter now understands that they can move in and clean up the last member. The Prowler in the hand here for Ziki. 1 man left standing. Can he get it done? Gen G get rid of ALGS, and now they take control, but with PXX right above, the PXX send this.
Talk about an unusual hero as well, to be able to let for Gen G to not only get back up to a full 3, but should be able to get themselves reset as well, as there is nobody on this northern side. You talked about where outside was, and it looks like they've held themselves into their position. DCG will put 2C1M and send them back to the lobby as DCG looking to kickstart their day, as Storm Point has not been friendly to them.
DCG getting some KP on the board. Only have 8 points at the moment, Q, after 3 games. 3 kills already. I feel like this may be the game that they're starting to get their name out here. SMP, though, moving in. They're looking to be aggressive. The Watson proving to be a little too hard to rotate in, but they will get rid of Rendang, and now they can try and get a reset as well inside of Wall and put themselves in a pretty good position. Fury now also trying to find their way in, and Finishers trying to get a reset on Kissans.
Yeah, where this zone is closing in, man, this is going to get a little hectic over the course of the next 30, 50 seconds or so, because where the zone closes in, there is not very much coverage, and there's basically just a little bit of hills, and that's about it. When you look towards these teams in the Southwest, they're going to have to push towards the direction of Finishers, which is why it's important that they get back up to a full 3 and get themselves reset.
Is Kurosami on the height?
Let's make a mess over there.
Getting some KP. We have a Kraber in the hand and the R9 as really gets the tail there, but PXX needing to be careful with these teams down the hill. Seem to have a bit of firepower in their hands.
The news for PXX is that most of the other squads are over on that western side of the zone. The only one that they really have to worry about is Kurosami. That fight could very well be breaking off in a moment. Outside, though, also having to worry about themselves, as it is Wolves and Ubi who still sit right on the outside of where they're looking to rotate towards A-Flow, the last one left alive, and they'll eventually get taken out.
Give me that.
Outside getting eliminated. Does look like DCG also. They're going to be getting eliminated. Finishers needing to hold the push off here as Fury also get eliminated. We now have 6 squads left, and all of a sudden we've just lost half the lobby in a matter of seconds. HAB and W still trying to figure out their way in as finishers. Well, they're going to set up on this south side, but they still got a fair bit of a rotate in here to get up to that northern end.
This all this fighting down here on the southwestern side really just feels like it's for placement more than anything, because there's so many squads that are going to have to fight through one another that even the team that comes out on top probably only rotates into the following zone with a player, maybe 2. The only team that might be able to stay up as a 3 would potentially be Wolves. Here's Gen G on this northern side. It's a nice alter Q to be able to push right up into the squad, and they'll be able to take out PXX.
Need to be careful. That is a great nade, whoever threw that. Gen G going to get a reset. PXX now down to a solo, but Gen G, they look scary at the moment, Q, being so aggressive here with their push.
I think that could throw a wrench into the mix, as Wolves have also pulled up over here as well. So while Gen G might be able to take out Pita was probably going to cause enough of a headache that I was going to say might find themselves a knock. Instead, they are a full 3, as it's Wolves who have now looked to try and send themselves and add their name into the mix, but they're pushing in from the low ground.
Oh my, they nearly got the drag back, but it's going to be a 3v2 situation now, so Gen G need to play it slow. Ziki, well, he clutched up before. He needs to do it again now with his good mate Dexter, as they're looking to try and swing the corner. Bit of a crazy swing now, Phil, from Dexter. Maybe not needed as such, but this is going to be pretty easy cleanup for Wolves, and that it is, as Gen G get eliminated. We have a top 4 situation, and Wolves still standing out here with 6 kills.
Able to get themselves pretty well reset as well. HAB and W right now tasting blood, just trying to see if they can push themselves into a top 3 by playing as this rat here. Remember, they had really good points through 2, and it looks like Wolves gonna get eliminated. And there's a very good chance that the solo could very well pull off, well, I was gonna say pull off a miracle, but they get found.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a Kurosami victory here. Zoyo, Ken, and crew going to clean up the last member here, but that is a pretty good game from HAB and W, because they have just put themselves in 3 games in a top 4 situation.
Sometimes all you need to do is keep yourself alive. You don't have to draw much attention. That's what they are able to do. You could even really say the same for your squad here for Kurosame. Through most of that game number 3, kind of tucked out of sight, out of mind, but when push came to shove towards the end, they were able to navigate those last couple of circles, pick up a big W.
Great game from Kurosame. They will get the victory. Only 5 kills, but that's a 17-point game. That is what you need heading into E District. Just going to have a look at our match summary before we see the series overall. And it's Kurosame with a victory. HAB and W getting 2nd finishes, 3rd. Wolves Esports 4th, and Gen G Esports rounding out the top 5. Let's go and have a look at our series overall, Q, after our first 3 games.
Go and take a look at it here and see who's sitting where at the turn. Gen G still sitting in that first place spot with 43 points. HAB and W, you mentioned 3 strong games here on Storm Point. They sit in 2nd at 41. They kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack, as Wolves sit in 3rd with 30. Kurosame with 24 points in 4th, and S8UL rounding out the top 5. And I think when you look as far as some of those teams behind them, you're only 1 game away from being able to start putting yourself into that mix. So E-District should be really entertaining.
Legend Band, well, it's going to be an interesting one, but I'm pretty sure it is going to be the Watson getting eliminated here in game number 3. So Watson getting banned. So there's a tiebreaker with the Bangalore, but Watson being picked a little bit more than the Mad Maggie in the 2 recent games. So fans, well, they're going to look a little bit like this before we head into E District, and that's going to be Watson, Crypto, and Seer getting eliminated after our first 3.
You're wondering if Alter would be able to make their way towards E District. You mentioned if they don't get banned first, sometimes they're able to make their way completely through the ban wave. Alter will be on the board, which should make game number 4 incredibly fun, especially as more of the team compositions do unfold as well. But we're 3 games through here, Stoney. Let's go ahead and see some of our top performers thus far here in the lobby.
Oh, there are our top performers. Kurosami, Gen G, and ABNW, the only teams to be getting wins out here today. Pretty good start for these teams as well, Q, because, well, these teams, they're the only ones to get a kill in the first day of our Split 2 here of A versus B. Go and have a look at our top 5 kills and damage leaders, though, after our first 3 before we get into a little break.
We had said how Ziki was the unsung hero that had kept them alive a little longer for Gen G in that last game. Able to patch up Asia's here in the top 5 for kills thus far in the series.
Crazy, by the way. That is probably the most craziest thing I've seen from Gen G. Just seeing Ziki on top.
Yeah, 11 kills for them. Asia sitting at 10. Black Road also with 10. Wirt with 8. And then QQ rounding out the top 5. When we look at the damage getters, it is Asia's who currently sits on top at 4,200. Wen with just about 4K. KRS there with 3,700. QQ and Ziki rounding out the top 5 as far as our damage getters halfway through series number 1.
So far, so good. 3 games left to go before we get in 2 more games tomorrow. E District is up next, but we have a 9-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. So go and get yourselves a drink, something to eat, sit back, relax. I know it's night time or wherever the hell you're watching in the world. We appreciate you guys being here at Battlegrounds HQ, the home of APAC of Split to APAC South and North. Welcome back. I know it's a banger. Welcome back to Battlegrounds HQ. Game number 4, not too far away. We're about to get into our first E-District game, the back end of our match day 1 for A versus BQ. So far, so good for the big hitting teams that we're used to seeing. But it's good to see some names that we're not used to seeing sitting up there at the moment at the top.
Yeah, I love the fact that we got some squads that, whether it is, you know, AvB, who didn't have the best of split ones, or you even have other squads up towards the top as well there that are kind of new to the pack. I mean, finishers right now currently sitting just outside the top 5, but definitely in the conversation up there. And I also seeing Kurosami making a little bit of noise there in game number 3 as well. So honestly, I feel like for a first 3 games here for APAC South, you couldn't have asked for much more. But now we're off to E-District. So let's go ahead and take a look at where these teams are going to be landing in at.
It's an interesting POI draft. Now, I look at these a fair bit. I'm not used to seeing a lot of these teams from these positions. I know S8UL, they're used to playing on that western side over at Blossom Drive, but the other teams, it's a little bit different. But we'll wait to see how it works. CPR very close to S8UL is going to be interesting for me. You got Wolves, Gen G still playing down that south side, which we're used to seeing them at Shipyard, and with the zones never really pulling to Shipyard, I don't think there's ever been a end zone in Shipyard. So I wouldn't be surprised if the boys choose that on purpose.
Yeah, there is literally, I think, one end circle, and that's it. I think we saw it, what was that? Maybe EWC last year? But we've literally only seen it once. I was actually going to point out that draft spot for them because I very much love that spot. A team that generally likes to be able to play edge. If it's going either southeast or southwest, you can obviously counter rotate the opposite way through Shipyard and put themselves in that very familiar hunting along the edge of the ring sort of position. Could very well be the case if we find ourselves going towards maybe a Humbert Labs, but it does indeed look like we're going more towards the direction of Stadium.
Stadium game number 4. How exciting. Let's go and see how this is going to work out for these lads. Dreamfire, well, they've been gifted a nice, pretty good spot here, Q, to start off our game number 4.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It never ends like right in Stadium, right? So if it pulls Stadium, it's usually more towards like that western side, or if anything, maybe more towards the direction of Settlement, where Wolves do land as well. And we've seen what Wolves have been able to do when they've been gifted zones here as far as on Storm Point Stone. Yeah, it's Wolves are a real good zone team, I feel. And then you go and put a dude on your team named QQ. A pretty scary team to try and run into when they're set up in a pretty good position. Finishers looking to try and rotate into a spot. Dreamfire, well, they don't have to move at all here, Q, for game number 4. I think actually to your point of Wolves, it feels like if you really do want to embrace more of that true like zone play style, that I think that's maybe where the trade-off maybe makes more sense between the QQ and No Name. I know I saw a lot of people questioning. I mean, even you and I had people asking us our thoughts on it, right? But thus far here, as far as in Pro Day number 1 for Split 2, Wolves still in a very similar spot, and it feels like for them still able to put themselves in very good early zone position and then just letting their experience shine through.
It's kind of a swap where you go, oh, but they both got good players. You look at VKG's swap, though, they get JR as well, so a pretty good team put together. Finishers nearly getting the cleanup on the Wen XX, but Wolves will be able to get the drag back. This may be the game that we see maybe Alter finally getting eliminated here for our legend bands.
Wouldn't surprise me. Alter tends to this tends to be Alter's playground in the sense that either you can make those TPs through the wall to be able to be aggressive, or you try and find those kidnaps as well. Wolves are in a threatened position here as a couple of players sitting relatively low on HP, but it does look like they'll be able to keep themselves up and standing. Papa Thief has a personal problem with that window and finally is able to break that thing down. We'll be able to send at least a couple of shots across the way, including that breach charge, but it doesn't find any impact.
The XX Filling out at the moment. Get some knowledge to see where these teams are. They know there's a team behind them, and it looks like maybe they're going to full send back towards that as Fury. Well, they're only a duo as well, Q, so be pretty scary times here for Fury, especially if they know that PXX are right on their tail.
Yeah, we had talked about it at the start of things for Fury, right? We were curious how they were going to be able to do as one of our few PLQ teams that are currently in this lobby. They haven't quite been able to put together any sort of momentum, but still plenty of time if they can at least bring themselves back to a full 3. PXX has also kind of been surprisingly silent today, and I guess you could even really say the same about Toboshu since that game number 1, right? They had a pretty strong start to their day, but their games 2 and 3 on Storm Point were a little underwhelming.
Fury do get it down as well, so now it's a 2v2. Lockchan, Lexon goes down, and it looks, is it Gen G? Yep, Gen G have decided to rock up as well, which, well, we were talking about PXX trying to get their day going, Q. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that when you've got a team like Gen G very close by as well.
Play very aggressive when you look at their composition as well. Down in that bottom left-hand corner, one of the teams that are looking to still thrive off of the back of that Alter, and Dexter showing exactly why this can be seen as Alter's playground. Obviously, the teammates also have the ability with that get out of jail free card as DEC Academy ends up getting taken out. Toboshu trying to get things rolling here in game 4.
S8UL down to a solo. They might be getting eliminated here, and they do. DCG get rid of S8UL. We're down to 17 squads for game number 4. A lot more fighting than we're used to here in early on of our E-District games.
Yeah, I was actually trying to figure out what map we were on here with 3 teams already being eliminated in this first ring, not even having been closed yet. Generally, we don't see ourselves get down to this 16 squad standing mark until rings 3, maybe even later than that. So I'm not sure if this is more about a couple of those teams down the back half of the scoreboard trying to up the ante a little bit here down the back half of split day number 1, or what the dealio is. But hey, you know what? I'm here for it.
Makes sense if that's exactly what that is for, because points do matter. Like we said, there's only 3 weekends to do it, Q, and right now you don't really want to have a bad set because they won't play again one of these groups till Sunday afternoon. Toboshu, they're trying to bounce back. They already have some KP on the board. They have 6 to be exact.
You know, let me pick your brain for a moment here while I imagine we would see a little bit of a slowdown in the fighting here. If you have such a schedule like this, Tony, well, hold on a second. Toboshu's actually going to be able to find a knock. We'll get back to that point here in a moment because it does look like they're just going to be able to finish the full kill. Maybe there are some extra shots sent their direction, but the question that I was going to ask, would you rather have games in like back-to-back days, or would you prefer to be one of these teams like they will be in this lobby where you play Friday, get Saturday off, and then don't play again until Sunday?
They're going to have to get used to it because that's what they have the next 3 weekends. I don't think the roster changes. It does look like Toboshu. They're going to full send though. G8 and King SG need to join the party. They do. UV get eliminated. We now have 15 squads left alive. And well, when you have teams like Toboshu on 8 kills already with 15 squads out here, you know why there's teams dying all of a sudden. Well, you got teams like this playing super aggressive here in game number 4. But I feel like the daybreak will definitely be probably my favorite. I get to have a full reset on Saturday and get back into it on Sunday. But it is a tough one. I feel like it is you kind of got to get used to it. Whenever you know what your schedule is, it feels like you're just going to have to mentally get used to that.
Black Hole here trying to see if they can get their footing going. They've been relatively quiet thus far today, Stoney, sitting at only 10 points and just outside of that bottom 5, sitting in that 15th position. BJJS has the P2020 and says they might be P shooters, but when they're both a knocking, the bodies get to dropping.
And Black Hole, they will get rid of G8, and now Toboshu are going to have to try and get a reset a different way. So Rendang Holding out outside at the moment. Still 15 squads left alive. Round 2 about to start closing. But let's go and have a look at the zone and see where everyone is at the moment for this game number 4.
I did mention how it doesn't feel like we often see them ending in the stadium. It's usually around the outside. It does look like most of these teams are all reading it towards these buildings on the just southeastern side of the stadium. I mean, when we look at these couple of houses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 squads of the likes of Black Road Wolves. You've also got on the far side Rendang as well, outside the ring, also playing very much inside the ring here. I would like to see them see if they can find a way to start picking up some KP, because inside the ring currently is kind of been sitting in that middle of the pack, hasn't gotten much going.
They haven't. 15 squads. Rendang, the nemesis in hand, outside overlooking on the height. Baffa Fifth, Noel Sang, and Aflo. Very good team here in APAC South. Just haven't had the chance to really get it going today so far, Q.
There is still time, even if you don't quite get the result you're looking for here in this game 4. Again, since we've had those 2 teams, both Gen G and the squad that currently sits on your screen, AvB, who have been soaking up a good bit of the points towards the top of the leaderboard, that they could both continue to do the same here on our first game in E District. It means if you're still just looking to be in the hunt of that top 5, 6 sort of mark, still 2 decent games on the back end of E District will put you there. The problem is your margin for error is basically nothing.
Wolves Esports, HABNW, been very impressed with these lads today, Q. 15 squads still standing. They haven't got any KP, but they put themselves in really good spots. So far in the first 3 games, I can't really fault them.
And doing so, again, continuing to be off meta, right? They're just picking what works for them. It almost kind of reminds me of Gen G last year, when you're picking players that, or you were picking legends that aren't getting through the bans. You get to kind of play that same composition through multiple points of the game. We had talked about CPR at the start of the day, Stoney, wondering if this team might be able to find their footing. They have struggled in that department. Right now, it is player K and Rocky, who still both are on their feet, but Tony Salami, who is player K, eventually falls. Rocky, however, will be able to get the Phoenix kit off and does have that Kraber in the back pocket.
Does get the Phoenix kit off. We'll be able to clean this up. Gen G Esports get put down by CPR and they will go out at 15. Oh no, the third party comes in. SMP getting rid of CPR and they will go out at 14.
Oh, cheeky. Just when you wonder if there's a chance that CPR can start to ride the wave, man. It's the third party that ends the story oh so quick here in game number 4. And right now, SMP will be the only squad that will be over on the southwestern side of the zone once they make their way towards the choke. They will then look to make their way over towards those buildings where 6 squads currently sit on the southeastern side of stadium, but SMP get the vibe for now.
SMP be happy with their spot. Kurasami still in stadium. DCG standing also, and it looks like they're making their way into zone. Just dodges that Mad Maggie boy. That scared me as well, as Rowie is trying to find some people to shoot at the moment.
Not find anything yet. Trying to see if maybe that portal might be able to catch somebody sneakily hugging the wall over on the other side. Ends up not being the case here, however. And the person that they're looking for is the lone survivor from PXX. And if PXX find themselves out early again, they are going to not be very happy with where they're sitting. Currently 12th in the leaderboard.
And Toboshu down to a duo as well. They need to try and get a reset. Wolves Esports still standing. S8UL haven't really done anything since game 1 as well, Q. They only have 21 points on the board here in our first 4 games.
Still time to get things going. They're not definitely in the worst of positions, and or where they're currently sitting as well. They're one of the few houses down on the southeastern side who will currently be in the following zone as it closes here for round number 4. So maybe being able to pick up some KP, get things going as far as the E district side of things. But and for Wolves, I feel like a team that probably more going to start to continue to truly embrace that play zone, be able to put yourself in good position. They have indeed been putting themselves in good position. So we'll see if they can finish one strong here.
Black Hole, look at the spot they're in for this game number 4. If they can pull the cleanup onto Boshu, they will be able to hold God spot for 3. Esports now trying to hold off the push as finishers are making their way in. PXX getting eliminated as well. DCG very close by. We'll see finishers decide to full send Wolves. Wolves also still very healthy, by the way, so you really don't need to be getting too excited because this team at the moment is so scary with QQ on board. Wolves Esports still holding their own inside this building.
Trying to find the last player left alive, going around the outside. One more player inside, and finishers will be finished. They'll be deleted, as will Fury and Rendang, as we are now officially into our top 10 position. Roy is indeed our boy, finding some big damage, but can't find their way away through the queue in time.
Shayo now getting another down to Boshu, get eliminated. Outside, get eliminated. Relove DCG looking to try and get some relove on Rowie, get him back standing. Crazy Kong going crazy. One man left standing. Wolves going to clean this up. They do get rid of Dreamfire. They should be able to get a reset on this south side of zone. But here comes the third party, and maybe I just jinxed them as Sato's going to come in and clean up, you'd think. Yes, he does. Wolves Esports get eliminated at 6th position. But they had a pretty good game with 8 kills, and it looks like SMP ain't stopping where they are at the moment.
Oh yeah, AJBNW was inside this building, was trying to get reset, but unfortunately isn't going to be able to complete things in time. SMP have completely awakened the beast inside here in game number 4. They are popping off, and they now find themselves inside the top 7. And well, Mosu has been able to control most of the bottom east side of this zone, so they'll be able to have plenty of space as the zone continues to close in. Black Hole, they basically control the northern side. It will be DCG, along with Kurasami, that will have to fight their way out of stadium.
Black Hole in such a good spot. They will be able to watch all 4 squads. 3 squads, sorry, rotate in. Kurasami holding off DCG that are inside stadium. We'll need to be careful as Louis-san and Rowie are going to try and get a reset. They have the overheal perk for Louis-san, and Rowie has the over armor. And they're going to full send this. Out comes the Sparrow ult. DCG looking very aggressive in game number 4. We'll need to be careful, as we can see Shayo with the Mad Maggie ball towards that eastern side of zone. They need to commit to one side of this fight at the moment, Q. It seems like they're a little bit on the back foot.
DCG, they always felt like they were a back half of these series sort of teams once those early legend bands came across. Here's Shayo, who will be able to at least find one full elimination. Allows for the shield swap as well. Kurasami still does sit on the other side as a duo. The question is who inserts themselves into the picture next. It looks like it's SMP who sends some shots across, and DCG is out.
Yeah, SMP. Down goes Sato, though. Mosu and Paddy Fan need to try and make their way in. They do. Kurasami get eliminated. It is now going to be a Black Hole versus SMP for our game number 4 victory. BJJ rotating in with the P20s in hand. He knows there's only one man left standing. This is an easy cleanup. Black Hole take game number 4, and that is how you get it done on E-District.
You had mentioned this Black Hole squad. We had seen them really do well during PLQs heading into split number 1. Never really got their footing in the Pro League, so they did have to go back to that relegation status But I can't help but wonder if that just allowed for them to work on their chemistry a little bit more, because they've seemed to have really started to find their stride, as that win there now puts them into the conversation for the podium. Currently sitting in 6th, and a lot of that off the back of a big game, 20 points in game number 4.
Yeah, 8 kills. Huge game for the lads. 20 points for game number 1 for Black. Sorry, game number 1 on E-District for Black Hole. Let's go and have a look at our match summary. And Black Hole with 20 points, SMP with 15, Kirasami getting 3rd, DCG 4th, and HABNW keeping their name in that top 5 match summary here for 4 games in a row. Series overall, it is going to be HABNW leading the way with 47 points. Gen G Esports sitting 2nd, Wolves Esports sitting 3rd, Kirasami 4th, and SMP rounding out that top 5. Let's go and have a look at what legend is getting banned.
That means HABNW hasn't finished outside the top 5. That's kind of crazy to think about. Alter and Mad Mackie both going to be picked 16 times. I do believe, though, Alter had been picked more through the rest of the series. So that does mean Alter going to be banned. We were curious if Alter would be taken off the board since we were heading back to E-District, Stoney. That's exactly what we get.
It was only a matter of time. And she is out of here. The first skirmisher gone here in game number 4. So that is what your bans look like so far here for APAC South A versus B. And well, we've had 4 different winners as well here today, Q, for our games.
Yeah, we've been seeing quite a bit of changes in the top 5 outside of HABNW, who has consistently been inside that top 5. But you'll see our 4 winners there: HABNW, Gen G, Kirasami, and Black Hole. And it's no surprise that I do believe all 4 of those teams find themselves in the discussion at the top, at least being within that top 6 here. So we'll see who's going to be able to add themselves to that list in these last 2 games of E-District. But before we do, I guess let's go ahead and take a look at our top 5 kills and damage earners here through our first 4 games.
Let's go see who is dominating the lobby as we're used to seeing. And I'll tell you what, we're not used to seeing that. And that is Ziki with 11 kills. I would love to know the last time Ziki was on top of the kill leaders here in a lobby. Wirt sitting 2nd, Black Road 3rd, Asia's 4th, and QQ rounding out our top 5. For the damage, well, when he has to step up once again now with no name, as we know no name used to absolutely carry the damage side of things, but Wen was always very close by. But at the moment, leading the way, we have Cumulonimbus. Oh, it was a good effort. Gen Asia sitting 3rd, Tasting Blood 4th, and QQ rounding out our top 5. Let's go and have a look at our EDPOIs.
Let's take a look at it here as game number 4 done and dusted, as we take a look at where players are landing. But also, I think it's worth noting for Black Hole, they had themselves quite a bit of a trek as they landed all the way up at Resort, and that thing landed on, or finished on, the outside of Stadium.
Yeah, that was a great game for the lads outside the ring. That's a team I want to see how they can get things going here, Q, because at the moment they're having a very, very quiet day, and they were in a pretty good spot to have a pretty good game there.
Felt like they had the potential to, and unfortunately for them, they have just had a relatively quiet day throughout. I mean, currently sitting at 14 points, down in that 14th position. But I mean, when you look at what Black Hole just did, right? They were down at 8 points prior to game number 4, and they're now up in the top 6. I mean, it's still anyone's game, it feels like, even all the way down to CPR and TEC Academy, if you can have back-to-back top 5, top 3s.
Who else do we have sitting up on top at the moment that's surprising you? I mean, it feels like HABNW, this is something I didn't see coming today. Kirasami made Split 1 playoff, so they're not a team that are, you know, not capable of making these top 5 overall in the game day. SMP a team that I feel like
Yeah.
we probably should be talking a little bit more about as well, because they're a team that have all the firepower, just need to get things going.
Yeah, and they were a team that, I mean, really just barely made it into regional finals, right? They just snuck their way in. They avoided relegation. So to be able to turn things around in week number 1 the way that they have, it is definitely worth noting. And I'm going to be curious to see if they can finish things strong down the home stretch of these last 2 games, because this is kind of, they're in that danger zone right now where they sit, right? Where in that 5th spot, you still get a decent amount of those points for the season. You drop down to even just 7th, 8th spot. All of a sudden, that point difference, it's a big gap. It's significant when you talk about this grand scheme of things across 6 days.
It is. And that's why I'm looking at the score at the moment. I'm looking at S8UL with 21 points. And I feel like those 21 points were in game number 1. So
pretty much, yeah.
They really need to get it going as well. As we know, S8UL do have one of the biggest fan base in APAC South and probably in Apex alone. So they'll be hoping that the boys can turn it around with Sharky, Legacy, and crew. They can do it, and I'm sure that Rogers is doing his part at the moment as well, because it's not stress time, is it? Really, it's the first match day. They can get it back going in tomorrow, but they still have 2 more games to turn it around here as well.
It's the stressful part is that, like, now your margin for error for the next 5 days is not nil, but it's next to nil. If anything, if you're one of these strong teams, you can just look at RRQ from last split and go, hey, right, they started with a dud and still made their way to regional finals and had a pretty good split even from there. So 1 bad day, not bad. I think the big thing for S8UL, though, that's surprising for me, you mentioned a majority of their points felt like they came in game number 1. I just checked back. It was 16 of their 21 points came in game number 1. And one thing that we credit this team for often, if they don't find the KP, they're normally at least putting themselves in good positions. Well, they haven't been putting themselves into those top 5 positions. And now we're on E District for these final 2 games. And we know just how crowded these end games get on E District in these final 2 games. So it's time to lock in.
Yeah, it is time to lock in. But at the moment, it looks like we may be having a reset here for game number 5, and it does look like finishes 1 DC. So chat, we'll be right back as we get back here for some more Apex action. 2 more games to go for our A vs B, and remember, there's still 24 games of Apex tomorrow and Sunday for us all to be watching together here on Battlegrounds HQ. So we'll see you all in a second with some more Apex just around the corner. Righto, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We did have a little bit of a technical difficulty for the ALGS crew to get all your observers in, which, hey, everyone was crying for APAC South to have multi-view. Your multi-view is happening. Everyone is in the lobby for game number 5. Well, we have to wait and see. Massive shout out as well. We do have a couple of sponsors that we need to shout out. TGX, we are broadcast partners with TGX. We will be live with TGX in April next year for another LAN event for Battlegrounds Apex, which is going to be exciting. More details with that, with Leadjoy. Obviously, everyone knows that we are still partnered with Leadjoy, and we are bringing you the biggest Battle of APAC tournament. Yes, the beautiful controllers that we have from Leadjoy. The biggest Battle of APAC tournament this year for 10K, September, I think 31st to October, November 2nd, I can't remember. But it's some time later this year after all these Pro League games. So we've got a lot of Apex coming your way in tourneys. There is another huge tournament that we have coming after that Battle of APAC, which is going to be called, I can't say, but it is massive. It will be one of the biggest tournaments that APAC has ever had. And I'm excited to bring that all to you guys here. And it's all thanks to you guys sitting in stream and supporting us and hitting that follow button and subscribing over on YouTube. Every little bit of support helps, and we can push back stuff towards the region, because that's what it's all about, is bringing APAC South back to where it belongs in its glory days. So we appreciate our sponsors, TGX and Leadjoy, and as you know, Q, probably one of the best controllers that I've ever used, and I don't know about yourself, but they're amazing.
I have been truly enjoying mine. I'll be honest. I you know me. I mostly do the Rocket League gaming these days because my hands can't keep up with the shooters. But I've toyed with mine a little bit, going into some shooters and playing as well. The sticks are amazing. I love the customization that you can do with it as well. As far as you got the couple of different buttons, you got the pads on the back as well as the extra buttons on the top, so you can remap some buttons. And the response time on it just feels pretty good as well. So. Been loving mine, definitely. But I know you've been loving not just the Saber, but you got to enjoy the other one as well, right? So you've got to test out a little bit of both products. So it feels like definitely something that you want to put in your hand. Yeah, the Xeno Plus there as well. It feels like very well put together, man. They are both phenomenal products.
Yeah, they're amazing. And the best thing about it, when all that came out with the stick, what is it? The RC filter. They brought in a integrity for, they made a comp one where you can't use that. So it is safe to use for comp, and it is a great controller to use as well. So massive shout out to them, because they are powering us through this whole split. And it's a hell of a split to be powering at the moment, because we're going to need as much power as possible after these next 4 weeks.
A lot of games coming up for sure. And I think that just goes back to your point. You had mentioned, the support of even just for everyone showing up, hitting the follow button, subscribe over on YouTube, getting active over in the chat, because of what we've started to build over here at Battlegrounds HQ. Because of you guys, this is the part of the reason that this split not only get to bring you guys English coverage for APAC South, but APAC North as well. So we can continue to help, build the stories all together of APAC, and it's really all thanks to you guys. So we appreciate you.
100%, and we really do appreciate it. I do, from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate everyone out there. There's a lot of people in chat at the moment that do a lot of work as well. So if you see Piltsy, Page, Necray, who designs all the graphics, give him a hello.
Gives us the banging soundtracks too.
Yeah,
My
goodness.
Yeah.
If you enjoy the BRB soundtracks as much as I do, I don't mind giving you guys BRB anymore, because me and Q are just dancing in the back room while we're waiting to get into these Apex games. It does look like we have had another reset, but we will not be giving you guys a BRB, because I'll just end up having a rave party here if we do that again. So. When we talk about these breaks, we know that APAC South is known for this sometimes. I get more worried about the teams that are trying to get things going, and I feel like maybe, you know, say for example the team that just won the last game, SMP, they've just had a really good game. Now all of a sudden they haven't had a game in about half an hour. Things change, and I feel like momentum is one of them.
Yeah, we always talk about how dangerous momentum can be, right? We see teams ride that wave. It feels like almost every week, and hey, can't help but wonder if in a situation like this for SMP, we talked about going into that last game, you know, they were sitting pretty low as far as on the leaderboards, able to put together a big game to put themselves in the conversation up and in the top 5. You know, what are you doing? What do the conversations look like between you know, that last game and this one? Because surely after the last game, it was like, hey, let's get in this next lobby and just do that again. Now all of a sudden you've been sitting by, and it's not even like you've had a chance to be in the firing range because it was like a planned break. You're trying to get into these lobbies. You feel like you're about to get going. You get that anticipation going again, and then you're having to join another lobby. So I think talks about a little bit about that mental fortitude for all of our teams, but especially the ones who are just starting to catch that footing here mid-series.
Yeah, I don't think teams like Gen G or Wolves Esports will have any problem with it either, because they're teams that are just so used to it. I feel like teams that will take advantage of this is S8UL. I feel like they are a team that will be like, hey, okay, we've had enough time now to talk things over, relax, get back into our swing of things. I wouldn't be surprised if these next 2 games we may see an S8UL win.
Yeah, you know, I think also teams that you talk about that have that experience together that could benefit, that haven't really had the day that they are hoping for. And I actually appreciate you for pulling this up, because I was going to mention 2 teams that find themselves in that bottom, we're going to call it 6, because one of them is PXX sitting in 15th spot, who finished 4th last split. They just haven't been able to put anything together, along with 2C1M, who was one of our last squads as far as to be able to make their way off to land. They've also been incredibly quiet here to start off their split too.
Yeah, very, very, very quiet. And we talked about another team as well that we thought would do a lot better, and that is CPR, who is sitting 19th at the moment. So it's scary times. I mean, you still got 2 games to turn it around. I'm still looking at teams like Finishers and Fury, who only, you know, one good game off being in the top 5 like SMP just did with an 18-point win. So with these games left to come, I do feel like I'll be watching a lot with these S8UL and even DCG for these last 2.
Yeah, and just so everyone's on the same page, SMP did finish 2nd in that last one, 15. We're thinking of Black Hole, who had 20 points in their win, and they're sitting at 28. They're still in that top 6 discussion, right? They're and they are down in those points that we were just talking about. 8 points for 2C1M. They can look at what Black Hole just did literally in game number 4 and say, hey, that could be us. 2C1M, they did have some decent games as far as pop-offs in that split number 1 that saved a couple of days. If they can find one here, all of a sudden you can still be in the hunt for the podium going into game 6.
Yeah, 100% correct. And Black Hole's a team we were talking about earlier in the green room about where we've seen them come from. And, you know, if they can get it going today as well. It does look like we're about to try and get into a game number 5 here, Q. I'm praying to God that we get into these. Let's go and have a look at the legend band so far. And this is what we're used to seeing, but it does look like no Gibby yet is very interesting to me as well.
Yeah, I feel like we've been seeing Gibby getting banned a little bit later in scrims across the different regions. Does feel like we've also not seen as much Newcastle this split as well, which I'm not exactly sure what the differences are. And what's crazy is we haven't had a couple of teams here in this region like we have in other regions where they feel like they kind of ride the Newcastle due to the fact that they don't get really banned thus far. So down, obviously, going into this game number 5, you mentioned our usual suspects all off the board: Alter, Seer, Crypto. Along with that, Watson. generally, this is where we do see that Maggie get increased in pick rate. So I guess we'll have to see what our players opt for, as we do have Legend Select finally hitting our screen. But before we take to the skies, let's look at those drops one more time here as far as the POIs.
Let's have a look, because we are finally getting into our game number 5 here for our Group A versus B. Match day number 1 of our Split 2 ALGS APAC South. And well, what kind of zone are you hoping for, Q? We've had the stadium one to start off here on game 4. Where are we going for game number 2 on ED?
Let's take a look at it and see where we are going as far as for that. As we do, you mentioned, have 60 out of 60. Does look like we're sticking a little bit more north, but in this time, instead of going off towards the east, we're going off towards the west. City Hall, or maybe do we even see this thing pulling as far over as that far western coast, even maybe towards Boardwalk or Resort as well? We'll see.
We've seen it pull back to Energy Bank also, but it's just a lot of that northwest side of zone in to make, just makes me feel like it is pulling towards City Hall. And that is exactly where it is going here for game number 5. We are finally in our 5th game here for our A versus B. Let's go and get in with Kurosami for game number 5.
Take a look at it as far as jumping on board, and with this thing pulling up in this northern side, they won't have to rotate too far. Also, when you think about teams that won't have to pull quite as far over, would be Black Hole as well. Remember, they just won game number 4, maybe with a back-to-back ski here with the zone pulling up in their direction. Maybe not only are they thinking about putting themselves in top 5, but truly putting themselves on the podium as well.
So they are going to make their way into City Hall nice and early. SMP very close as well. And well, they had a 2nd place game number 4, not a win as I thought they had. I said they're going to try and make their way into City Hall and find a place to call home.
See what sort of direction they can find here, and we'll see if we can get the bottom left fixed for y'all. Chat, I think we've got a Ubi permanently stuck on as far as on the overlay for just a moment. So do keep with us while they get that figured out. But unfortunately for now, Doom and company, they're in a tough spot here, as they've already had one player knocked.
Upgrade chosen.
It does look like we are stuck on Ubi. That is a very interesting.
Here. Level 3.
It's a refresh.
Bang! See it on the screen here for now. Dreamfire, they landed over at Stadium. We saw them quite put together the game number 4 that I'm sure that they were hoping for after being gifted a zone. This time they have to trek all the way across the map. We'll see what they'll be able to find as far as that regards. Toboshu also, when you think about how much noise they had made in game number 1, they've been relatively quiet since, still sitting at that 26 points. They're getting aggressive here with the fight, as it does look like it is going to be Toboshu, who does have a player that gets knocked relatively quick, not just once, but twice. Weren't the last one left alive, and it's Dreamfire who comes out on top.
Yeah, no, they just got put down there, and they will be getting eliminated. HABNW, they're getting some KP on this northern side of the zone, and they're going up against UB. You need to be careful. Beautiful shots. Avisan might be able to get the down with the Q, doesn't. But with 19 squads left alive, HABNW getting some KP already on the board.
HABNW, talk about consistent on the course of the day. They haven't found themselves outside of the top 5 and any 4 of the maps that have been played just yet. And that's even with at times having to stay alive as a duo, even as a solo. I'm trying to think back, was that I think game number 3, potentially game 2, but still for them, they've been able to scratch and claw. And for a team that didn't see the results that they were hoping for in split number 1, surely loving the way that things have started here for split number 2. Meanwhile, when we talk about the squad that currently sit on your screen, Team AvB, it's been a little bit of a struggle bus today. They've only been able to put together a handful of points here, so.
That's fine. Let's go.
Yeah, haven't had the best day. AvB and W looking like they are going to keep on being aggressive. Outside, very close by. A team that we really wanted to see get things going. A lot of teams pulling towards this north side queue. Maybe they're thinking it's going to pull here more than City Hall.
I think teams are vying for some of the very precious real estate over here on the northern side, especially because if it does pull this way, you want the high ground if possible. And well, AvB and W have been able to secure just that on one of the tallest rooms and the tallest towers here on this northern side. And for them, while they do have some dangerous teams that are next door, I think I would almost prefer them next door versus my bottom floor.
JB and W. I feel like I just need to watch them a little bit more because they really surprised me tonight with just the way that they're playing and holding positions here so far in these games. 19 squads. Let's go and have a look at the zone queue and see where teams are playing. We can see all the teams that are trying to play that Lotus area that is outside and HAB and W, but there is a lot of teams inside City Hall.
Well, there's the northern side or the southern side of it. Yeah, a lot of teams that are still trying to find exactly the read on this zone, as they will get a better scan of that as we get closer towards that ring 3, as we'll know more for sure if we're pulling to those northern houses of the likes of Wolves and even Black Hole, who we mentioned had that strong game in game number 4. They've put themselves in a decent read here in game 5. ALGS, well, they've been another one of those teams that have been relatively silent today, also sitting at that 9-point mark. Let's see if they can find a way to get things moving here down the home stretch.
Black Hole, one game number 4, looking to try and go back-to-back. Wolves Esports, the closest team to them. Pretty scary team to have next to you with QQ, Wen, and Crazy Conk. And it does seem like Wen is starting to warm up a little bit here as well, Q. He had a pretty slow start to the day, but it does look like he is starting to get it going.
Starting to get their wind about him. That definitely seems to be the case. I'm wondering if maybe with the changes to the squad, if we might see them being one of those more later half of the set sort. We got some of those teams, right, that as those first couple of legend bands come across, like we mentioned, the ones that are the usual early on, the Cryptos this year, some teams start to open things up. We talk about teams who have started to catch their stride. Gen.G had that big pop-off game earlier, and then they followed it up with a relatively decent one, and then kind of a dud. We'll see what they can do here in game 5.
Does look like my observing tool doesn't want to work for this game, which is fair enough. Wolves Esports trying to stay alive for now. It's holding a pretty good spot on this northern side of zone. Let's go and have a look where everyone is standing at the moment. And, well, this zone is starting to close, Q, which means teams are going to start making their way in.
Most teams are starting to make their way in. You'll notice down in that kind of, I guess, right side of the zone that's shown, HAB and W, you were keeping an eye on them earlier. They did end up getting knocked down to a solo. They're trying to find a place to be able to get their teammates back into play. But unfortunately for them, here in Energy Bank, both AvB as well as 2C1M are both in the general vicinity. So if you give them any sort of indicator, whether it's, you know, letting off a respawn or using a one of those balloons, well, you could be found. And that's exactly what happens as HABNW will be our first squad eliminated.
They're going out. 18 squads left standing. They'll go out at 19th, which is not too good for HAB and W. TXX looking at some teams on that south side of where they are, and they still need to try and figure out where they're going to rotate here as well.
Blasted evac tower gets themselves another one. Man, that's tough to see. But yeah, 18 squads still left. We had mentioned as we turned our attention towards E District, this is a map that generally gives us these pretty clustered end games, and it looks like that's going to be a similar case here At least for now in game number 5. Black Hole in a little bit of trouble though, as one player is knocked. BJJS just a sliver of health in their name, as well as SMP has come a knocking, and it looks like they're trying to get this team eliminated as Easty also goes out in the feed.
Yeah, I don't like Black Hole's chances to stay alive. Because they're actually doing pretty well at the moment. If they can hold this box and get Easty back in, I'll be very, very impressed. Wolves Esports very close by. They didn't want to overcommit and send either, so they will hold it down for now as Black Hole are trying to figure out how they're going to get Easty back on his feet.
No need for Wolves to overextend here. Currently find themselves in that 3rd position, 41 points. We had mentioned that gap that HABNW and Gen G did have heading towards E-District. Wolves cut into that a little bit, and they're looking to try and continue to do so. Black Hole still holding it down for the pound inside their building, and will be still stuck as a duo. DCG didn't have to rotate too far. Remember, for them, they were landing at Boardwalk. They've funny enough still put themselves on the opposite side of the zone, but looking for a good little place to set up shop.
QQ doing what QQ does, and that is just make it really hard for teams to be able to just relax, because QQ doesn't relax. So it's like a little Rottweiler as he's going to rotate back towards the boys and get a shield swap. Black Hole still trying to get Easty on these feet.
One of those things, it's like you wish you can get back up to a full 3, but at least you're doing enough to be able to keep that team that's next door at bay. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to do just that, especially as this zone closes and more teams start to pull on up. Fury having to find their way in towards the zone, finding themselves on this southeastern side. And unfortunately, it will be Rendang that will be right in front of them. And I think there's a good chance that it could be 2C1M that will be on their 6 here in a moment as well.
G7 in the hand of Lexon. 18 squad still standing. This is more of an ED game. Our last ED game was very aggressive early on, Q. We lost about 5 teams, I think, in round 1. But this one so far, only 2 teams eliminated, with round 3 now starting to close.
Those southern squads have all been able to traverse on through and in towards the City Hall area. And only Black Hole is the team that has fallen. And they were, remember, a little bit more up towards the north. So all of the squads that were on the southern side that had to move have all been able to do so relatively safely. It will be Dreamfire that falls, and once this final, well, I shouldn't say final squad, but as this next squad falls, teams will start acquiring those placement points as well.
I say you will. Looks like they're down to a duo, which is not the greatest, as they're trying to get their day going. Teams still trying to rotate in. There is so many teams left standing. As we can see, Rendang need to be careful. They're getting shot in the backside as well, and it's Yubi who are trying to move in. But there's a lot of teams looking at him here, Q, and I don't like their chances to stay alive.
We had mentioned all the teams who had made their way safely in from that southern side. Well, all those teams have to move again, which just forces them into one another quicker, and even with more of teams in the vicinity. So even for 2C1M, if you finish this fight, there's a third party, PXX. They'll be able to keep things clean though, so they should be relatively safe where they are at. We had mentioned DCG, and they had landed over here on this northwestern side of the zone. They have not had to move very far. They only have one team that they have to worry about for now, and that's Gen G, who's looking for a fight.
Gen G, beautiful shots coming out from Asia's. Looks like he's just going to full send it, does he? Needs to be careful. Dexter goes down. Asia's now trying to move out. I don't like their chances now. This is not looking good, as DCG have absolutely destroyed Gen G in their attempt to try and full send this fight. It should be an easy cleanup for only one member left standing. DCG do need to be careful though, because I think a third party is rocked up as well.
They are clearly not Star Wars fans, because if Anakin taught me anything when I was younger, pushing from the low ground is not the smart move. And Gen G learns that same fate as they get slain. But now it's SMP who have pulled up to the party and trying to insert their name into the mix. But it was DCG that was here originally. They say this is our domain, and you guys are just trying to play our game, as they will be able to find yet another knock. They have not been able to find the elimination yet, though.
There's so many teams in this building at the moment, and it does look like SMP are going to be down to a solo with DCG as a duo. Rendang get eliminated, and it looks like CPR are trying to get their name on the board as well with some KP.
It said that they had a relatively quiet storm point. They also got eliminated quickly in game number 4. We started the day talking about how this is one of those teams coming from the PLQ with their experience. We wondered if they could pop off, and well, there's a chance for them to at least start to pile up some points here in game 5.
B20s needing to be careful. DCG as a duo. Nades coming out from Crumbs just so they can get this res off, and they will get Tommy Salami back standing. Now, if everyone from home is wondering who is Tommy Salami, well, that man is Player K, so we should all be used to seeing Player K out here. PXX getting the job done on the bridge. There's 8 squads left, and PXX have, well, not much left of bridge to play. They need to rotate towards that northern side.
I would be curious to see what route they opt for on the rotate in, because they've got teams both to their east and west, a little bit towards their northern side. If they push towards the east, they could actually be the third party and the beneficiary of playing cleanup and picking up a couple of KP along the way. One of those teams that would be on the way was that TEC Academy squad that we just saw a moment ago. But Wolves, they sit on this northwestern side. They're one of the teams that feel like they're in the power position as long as they can keep themselves on their feet.
TEC Academy, a very, very lazy day at the moment. 9 points on the board, but they have a lot, well, 2 games left to make it count. If they can get a win here, they need to get some points on the board, and that can change their day drastically. With, well, Kirasami looking to try and change that, though. They're looking to be aggressive, and it does sound like one member of Academy getting eliminated from a team from afar, and that is Wolves.
Trying to stick, it looked like maybe for the res, but I just don't know if they're going to have the time or the space, as not only do they have the team down underneath them, but Wolves also applying a pressure from across the way, as Crazy Kong with the Nemesis in hand will be able to deliver some final shots, along with it looks like the Kraber that's in the hand of Rocky. CPR trying to get things going as Rocky let him cook with the Krabby Patty. Oh my goodness.
DCG now catching the wrap of this. As we can see, Rowie goes down, and he will come and clean it up. CPR needed to get things going, and Racky's like, I ain't gonna be sitting back for much longer, boys. I had 1 break off already. I'm not having off 2. As Racky now gonna go get some KP. He's gonna rotate back towards the boys, play his spot, and relax for a little bit. As you can see, though, CPR trying to be aggressive was Crumbs, and he's gonna go down, but they should be able to get a reset with Wolves Esports very close by on the left side.
Dark Veil makes it a little bit more tough for Wolves Esports, but they are still a full 3 if they opted to push their way on through. SMP still left as a solo here, as Sato could potentially be a wrench in the mix of this fight. CPR will be able to get Crumbs back up onto their feet, should be able to get fully reset as well, but they will be the first squad that has to move.
It's a tough one. Wolves Esports set it up behind those rampart walls. Going to be a very hard spot to push. As we can see, the R9 shots coming out from Wen. Already 1,000 damage on the board for that man. And we can see QQ just doing what QQ does, and that is just roam the battlefield like he is the only one out there. He doesn't get shot, and he makes his way back towards the lads here. With 3 squads left standing, CPR might be in a little bit of trouble with Wolves, looking to try and take this win.
Keep looking at the solo from Razi, though. If they're able to play out of sight and out of mind, QQ has already stepped up to be able to help Wen and Crazy Kong in this fight with CPR. And while they might be able to take out CPR, has enough damage potentially be done where Razi can pull off the miracle. They try to pull off the instant push over the ceiling or over the ledge, but still gets chased down. And Wolves Esports take game number 5.
Massive game from Wolves Esports. They get their first win of today as well, which will give us 5 different winners here for our match day number 1. A versus B. Wolves Esports finally get on the board.
Well, it is their first win. They did go into game number 5 in that 3rd place position. So you add 12 points for the win, along with another 11 in KP. That's a huge game for Wolves Esports as they now sit atop Group A versus B here after game number 5.
Yeah, huge game from this lads. And that is their first win with QQ on board as well in a Pro League setting. So very cool to see this Wolves team still doing Wolves stuff with one of the best players in APAC South. ALGS getting 2nd, CPR 3rd, SMP 4th, and PXX round out our top 5. And they had 16 kills. 16 kills, PXX.
That's huge for PXX there to be able to continue to climb their way on up the board. We had mentioned they were in that, 15th spot, I believe it was, before game number 5. We said that they were still in a position. You string things together, you can have a chance to shoot for the podium. Now at 33 points, it would still need to be a pretty solid game, but it feels realistic here, Stoney.
It does, and the top 5 now is on the cards. They're only 4 points away from getting that done, as we can see. We'll go and have a look at what legend is getting banned for our last ban of today, and it is going to be Mad Maggie, which means with Mad Maggie gone, we may see a lot more Gibbies and Newcastles now starting to come out.
I feel like there's a good chance of seeing those, maybe even a little bit of an uptick in the Rampart, maybe, just as far as with the buildable walls, but only time will tell. It is definitely interesting to still see all of those players still available heading into game 6, especially when we think back to kind of the way that the legend bands worked their way through during split number 1. But those legends are off the board. I guess let's see who have been our top performers thus far here through 5 games, Tony.
And it's going to be HABNW, Gen G, Kirasame, Black Hole, and Wolves Esports. Our top 5 performers so far in these games. We have one more game left for our first match day, and I wonder if we'll see 6 different winners, or do you feel like Wolves have what it takes to go back to back?
If there's any team that could do it, they are definitely one of the teams on a short list in APAC South that I would have confidence in doing just that. But if there is anything that we have started to see throughout the course of what feels like the last couple of years here in APAC South, it's the depth of the region as well. I mean, all 5 of these teams have been able to find dubs, and there is a team that is currently inside the top 5 that's not on this list that I feel like is due, and that is SMP. And they're one of our squads that has seen a lot of success today, despite the fact that they are one of our teams that didn't really see much of anything as far as in split number 1.
Yeah, not much at all. Let's go and have a look, though, Q, at who is leading the way for our kills and damage.
Let's take a look at it. Last time, we'll get to look at this before everything is final, and it will be QQ, who has now been able to put themselves up into the top spot with 13 eliminations. Black Road with 12, and then it's a 3-way tie for 3rd with Wen, Zicky, and Wirt there with 11. KRS sits at the top of the leaderboard as far as our damage getters here with 7,700. Wen and QQ sit in 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Xiao and Asia's there to round out our top 5.
That is how that game is going, well, how it is going to look after game at number 5 with our lobby leaders at the moment. Says Nimbus is leading the way for Kirasame. with the damage. And Q, we have one more game left here for our A versus B before we're back here again tomorrow for 12 more games.
Yeah, we'll get to see our first rendition of APAC North in English tomorrow, and then we'll be able to follow that up after a short break with day number 2 here for APAC South. So make sure you guys are locked on in. If it's your first time through over here on Battlegrounds HQ, make sure you hit that follow button down that bottom right-hand corner. Or if you're over on the YouTubes, make sure you hit that subscribe and turn those notifications on. That way we can catch you back live for more APAC Apex action throughout the rest of Split number 2. But it looks like we've got everyone in the lobby. I think we've got our staff just about ready to get things going here as well. Stoney, you ready to hop in for game number 6?
Hell yeah. It does look like we're very close to getting into it, guys, as well. We are watching APAC South first tomorrow, then APAC North in the afternoon.
I did say that backwards, didn't I? I did say
okay,
APAC
though.
North
That's
first.
okay,
Yeah.
7-6. It's all right. All right. We're about to get into these games here, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you guys for sticking with us all day. So far, this is the APAC South way with all these resets. And it is something that we're not used to as well, which is casting a lobby at this time at night. We haven't really had a late lobby, or 10 a.m. for you, but 10 p.m. for me. And for some of these teams out here, like New Zealand players, it's 2 a.m. at the moment. So passion
being had. And I mean, you know, one last game for it. It's going to be interesting here to see. You mentioned, you know, obviously Mad Maggie being taken off. We really haven't seen much of not just the Gibby, but the Newcastle. So I'll be curious what ends up being more of the lobby preference, or do we still see more teams opt to go more of the aggressive route? Do we see more of the Sparrow like we've already seen, and maybe even some of those, you know, more push legends that you think of?
I feel like we might see a bit of baby comp come out. I do feel like now that there's no Mad Maggie, I feel like we may see a lot more Gibbies, Newcastles. There's no Watson, so the Catalyst might come out as well if they decide to use the Rampart instead, then so be it. But I do feel like we're going to see a lot of Gibbies, a lot of Newcastles starting to come into the play. Wouldn't be surprised if Valkyrie is out here as well.
Valkyrie could be a fun one. I'm actually, you know, thinking back to as much as we started to see Valkyrie get thrown into the mix late in series in Split number 1. We really haven't seen much of that here in Split number 2. And I guess that just goes to show as the ebbs and flows of the metas come and go. We kind of see that a little bit as far as within that legend select as well. Unfortunate news though, Stoney. I think we're short a player here going into this next lobby.
We are. I hate to do it to you guys. I tell you what, you guys are going to love the APAC South Battlegrounds music by the end of this weekend, if this is how we are going to go for the first night. But we're going to be right back with some more APAC action just around the corner. Sit back, relax. Don't fall asleep no matter where you are. If you've woken up and you're in America or wherever the hell you are, stay awake, guys. We'll be right back. I promise. Stay here. Ready?
Yeah.
Alrighty, we are here. Game number 6. Hopefully just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're not too far away from getting into the action. Oh man, so far so good for some of these teams. So far not so good for some of these teams out here.
Yeah, I think probably one of my biggest surprises on the day would be 2C1M. I know it's probably not a team name that a lot of people would be like jumping off the page going, oh, they're at the bottom of the leaderboard. Why? But when you think about 2C1M, they were one of our squads that went to land. So to see them struggling to put together points, and it's not like it's been just either placement or KP that they're lacking. Really, they're kind of lacking in both departments. They just haven't really seemed to get anything going, Sony.
Yes, like anything going at all too. So it does look like we are about to get into game number 6. We have finally made it. Gonna have a look at what our POIs are looking like again for ED before we get into our last one.
Yeah, let's take a look-see here and see as far as some of these squads. I mean, we have seen, what, one zone that was down towards that southeastern side, one up towards the northwest. So we've seen a nice little healthy dose of the two. I think if there's anyone who's hoping to get the benefit of maybe a decent zone here, I'm sure Rendang wouldn't mind seeing something heading their way down at Street Market. They currently find themselves in a very similar situation to where we had seen PXX going into that last game in the 15 spot, where you put together a good top 3, a nice little mixed bag of some KP, and all of a sudden top 5's in the conversation.
So we might be heading towards that south side, or maybe even Energy Bank here for game number 6. This is our final game. We did get there, which is good. It took us a while.
Well, I mean, if there's any team right now that's inside the top 5 that hasn't been gifted a zone, it's SMP. So it almost would feel fitting if we were to go to Energy Bank here for game number 6. Of course, when it goes dead middle, there's a whole bunch of teams that get prio, and I guess it's only Stony asking you shall receive. When Q asks, we'll go somewhere else. Looks like we're going down more south of the likes of Humbert Labs, maybe all the way down towards Old Town. I doubt we go all the way that far south, but we did mention PXX, the team that went into game number 5 in the 15th spot, now find themselves going into game number 6 in the 6th spot. They'll have themselves a very short rotate coming from Old Town up towards that Humbert Labs area.
Oops, never mind.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they go with this rotate in the South Humbert Labs. I feel like we usually have a pretty good end game for these games, but I do just have a funny feeling that because there has been just that little bit of waiting around for these teams, that we may see one of those chaos APAC South games as well. But as I say that, there is a lot of gibbies out here, Q, so wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot of teams in this last couple of zones as well.
Quite a bit of gibbies, seen a decent few of the ramparts as well. Teams wanting to really be able to fortify their position once they do indeed get down to it. I was kind of curious. You'd mentioned about maybe seeing an increase of pace here on game number 6 in E District. You look at, outside of Wolves Esports, right? A lot of teams that are even down in that bottom 5, you're right around that 15 to 20 points range. You pop off with double-digit KP, you're at least in the discussion of like top, 6, 7 spots. I had to give you at least one more before the day was done, which still at least yields you some decent spots or some decent points for the overall split. So there is a chance when you look at teams like outside, maybe looking to use the Axel and Pathfinder combination to play aggressive.
Does look like outside. They're going to rotate in. It looks like Wolves Esports also trying to make their way into zone. QQ setting the portal for the boys, trying to figure out where they're going to play. PXX all the way down south also. So 20 squad still standing. 3 minutes left here for round 1 before it starts to close. It's fully closed.
Mentioned PXX down here on the southern side. I thought maybe for a moment Gen G was going to push in over their direction from Shipyard Arcade. They've been slowed down at least a little bit here. So PXX does still have quite a bit of control over Old Town itself. However, XD will need to back down after taking a little bit of damage. You mentioned the Newcastle along with the Gibby here for PXX gives them the ability to really hunker down when needed.
Good to see the Gibby out here. Hopefully tomorrow we'll see Mad Maggie maybe, you know, eliminated a little bit earlier so we can get some more Gibby gameplay, because I feel like since this season has, this season itself has updated, Gibby is just that little bit insane just with the speed as well. So Gen G now looking to be aggressive. Out comes the kickstart. That's a hell of a kickstart as well. So they're going to move in and clean this up. There's only 2 men left standing. Asia's with the longbow sentinel, whatever the hell he had in there. But Gen G get rid of PXX and they'll be eliminated at 20th position.
Yeah, luckily Ziki was able to jump on in with the car and help clean things up and wrap up that fight there for Gen G. We had talked about Ziki earlier, has been helping lead the way as far as in the kills department in this lobby in its entirety, a position that we don't normally see that young man in. And when you combine that with the usual performance of Asia's, and that's part of the reason Gen G has put themselves in the position they have through 5. Team UBI, one of the squads that we were wondering if they might move with a different sense of urgency heading into game number 6. They've already picked themselves up a couple KP and started their rotate in.
SAUL moving in on DCG. They've already got the finish on Sheo, and that means DCG will be stuck as a duo. So they are rotating away from this action. SAUL looking to try and maybe get some more KP, because they have had a pretty quiet day on their side of things.
Wonder if there's still a chance though, right? We talked about, you know, even just a game 6, you have put together a somewhat reasonable finish, and for SAUL, I mean, what, 15 points is plenty doable if you combine both placement and KP, and all of a sudden we're not really talking about such a disappointing day. So there's still an ability for them to be able to secure up their day number 1 to start off split number 2. SMP, they have looked solid despite they were a fact that they were the, what, I think last team that made it into regional finals for split number 1. They've looked like they've really caught a whole different sort of stride here to start off split 2.
Wolves Esports, they get it down on Noel, saying it looks like they're going to move in on this. The Gibby bubble does come out, does have the EMP bubble, so makes it very hard for Wolves to move in on that action. Fafafif playing the Pathfinder will move up a little bit more aggressive angle. But we'll need to be careful, because Wolves Esports kind of scary team out here at the moment.
And Wolves Esports feel like they're starting to really figure things out. We talked very briefly about the Reignite Cup series that they had going on during the offseason. Wolves looked like they weren't quite at that same level then, but here now today, they have definitely seemed to get right back to their winning ways. Currently in that number 1 seed, and they go into this game number 6, 15 points away from that team in second, which is currently HABNW.
Such an impressive day too, by the way, from HABNW. We can't take anything away from those lads. They have those first 4 games consistently sat in that top 5 and put themselves in the position that they are now. So hopefully they can keep it going here in this final game. We have 18 squads left standing for game number 6.
Now that I see Taboshu on our screen in that bottom left-hand corner, seeing the fuse, that was another legend that we didn't talk about, the potential of seeing more of here in this game number 6. But we do see Taboshu trying to utilize that to their advantage. Not going to be able to buy enough space here, as is actually 2C1M, who will be able to meet that resistance, push right back out the door, and force them back.
And Taboshu, they're going to rotate back, so they don't want any part of that. They're going to try and take their time a little bit more proactive, rotating to zone, which is smart from Taboshu, considering that they really don't need many more KP points. They have 4 already. They can aim for a pretty good placement game here. They're looking at maybe cementing a top 5 as well for their first ever Pro League game day together. We can see Kurosami though rotating in. Out comes to Sheila. But it does look like they're going to go down. It is Wen, the last one standing for Wolves, and Kurosami getting third party as well.
Well, one thing that's allowed Wolves to be so successful today is they just got back to their fighting ways. And it's an early fight here in game number 6 that doesn't go their way, that all of a sudden has them in trouble. They've got 34 kills throughout the course of these first 5 games, just to understand how much of an urgency they have put in taking into those fights. Outside will now try and retreat on back as they get some shots sent their way. Kurosami currently trying to add to their total just inside the top 5.
Very interesting fight, this one. It's taking a little too long. As we can see, Wen, I think he's trying to make his way into some of the boxes, but it's going to be a tough ask for him and the lads. 18 squads though. Q still standing with 50 seconds left for round 2 to start closing.
Wen just trying to find some sense of relief, a place to just be able to breathe for a moment and then potentially just be able to tuck away, just earn these last couple of points to ensure that Wolves can end the day on top and get those 25 points to add to their tally for split number 2. ALGS has been relatively quiet today, seeing what they can make shake here in this 6th game. It does look like maybe there's a chance SMP gonna hunt down this final player from Wolves.
UB now as well, moving in on the action. They have their hands full, as it looks like SMP don't want them to live there. So a lot of teams trying to play inside this tunnel area, Q, but there's not enough room here for many teams.
That is for certain. Fury currently sitting in 12th. They are in that spot where we mentioned, you know, you have yourself a 18-ish, 16, 18 point game for Fury. You go from outside of the top 10. Could very well be threatening for that top 5 position. They've been quiet today, but maybe there's a chance that they can not only throw back to that old duo of Waltzy and Jen Burton, but embrace the success that that squad had under that same banner as well.
Noel saying with some beautiful shots with the car. Will look like they're going to take the hype back off. Out comes the kickstart. Yippee! Stuck by themselves. I'm wondering if that's Wolves. It is, and oh my god, Wen has somehow got all the boys back here. Now Wolves able to get a reset in zone number 3.
Contact with target.
Tucked away and out of sight, out of mind, and looks like they should indeed get that reset that they were hoping for. And when you look at where the zone will continue to pull, you wonder if there's still a chance that they'll have the time to completely get reset. It looks like at least Wen and QQ have. Crazy Kong looks to enter in. The Mastiff finds a big first shot, but then they quickly get put down. Wen and QQ now in the 2v3 trying to make something shake.
There's one man that can do it by himself, or with Wen XX. It is QQ. So QQ now trying to take his time with this fight. He sees the man right there getting the heals, but outside will get eliminated, and that's 2C1M on the backside moving in on the action. The Prowler in the hand. Out comes the kickstart. No way that gets rid of it. As you can see, this may be Wolves, Gaming getting eliminated here.
A tough spot. It's going to be all left to Crazy Kong to see what they can make happen. And even for them, while they're full on health, they're pretty short in the shields department trying to relocate, and they get absolutely beamed down by 2C1M. And Wolves will have to watch the rest of this from the lobby.
64 points for Wolves. They are sitting 13 points currently in front of second place. So they are doing very well. And it is going to be a tough ask for the teams like Gen G to catch the lads. XXFPS and BJJ, the last 2 standing here as they are going up against UB. 2 down now, and it is a 1v1 situation. But here comes DCG looking to get involved as well.
One up for the third party with some late series heroics like we're used to seeing from this trio. Remember, they were just barely able to sneak their way in towards the LAN as well, and they're looking to try and carry over some of that late split momentum that they built up and see just how strong they can finish here in split number 2, day 1. Rendang also trying to see if they can end their day on an exclamation point. They have not had much to talk about thus far here today.
Not much at all. I feel like there's a fair few teams that we're used to talking about that haven't made much noise at all, Q. I mean, it's lucky for them. It's only day 1. But as we know, they only now have 5 more, days left to really get things going. So 13 squads left standing. Zone number 4, 20 seconds away before it starts to close.
Well, Rendang saw someone was trying to get a revive in front of them. It looks like they're going to try and push right on to that as it's a mobile respawn that was in front of them. It's shut down and looks like they should be able to wrap up the last little bit of this. Unfortunately, though, it's a second player that they retreat back towards. It was Black Hole. I think was at least able to get back to a full 3, but can they stay standing is the question.
Yeah, Easty somehow gets in a safe place, but with Rendang staying right on their tail. This is where it becomes very hard, but for Rendang, very interesting decision to try and get these KPs. Now they've kind of thrown their game. They will be down to a solo, as I'm pretty sure DCG also very close by getting some KP, holding these teams out from rotating in.
Technically, DCG on one side and SMP on the other. So that trek in is going to be absolutely dangerous for that last player, Bastion, that is left alive. You can see DCG is on the hunt, though, and it's Fury, who sits on the other side. Noobles almost gets put down, but has enough HP to keep themselves moving. Kirasami on the high ground. You've got Can, who has that Sheila in hand, has yet to let that thing sing.
Jesco and Legacy again as a duo, so they must have had another DC bug, which is not... Sounds like they haven't had the best day here. SAUL, as Sharky looks like he has not made the lobby once again. ALGS now looking to try and rotate in. The altar portal coming out from the lads. SMP playing on the height, just trying to stay alive, and it looks like Gen G moving in onto DCG to try and get some KP and try and get their first game day, finishing on top.
Oh, you mentioned they were one of the 2 teams that was in the hunt of that spot that Wolves currently sits in. They'll be able to finish off DCG, as Roy and company will have to watch the rest of this from the spectator's screen, and Asia's will be able to keep themselves standing as well. Currently our lobby kill leader.
Asia's is farming right now. 5 KP in the hands of Asia. ALGS getting eliminated as well. SAUL still standing. Beautiful shots. Out goes SMP. So 2C1M looking pretty good here, Q, with 8 kills on the board. Gen G Esports still alive, and also SAUL only as a duo.
Yeah, Gen G actually, though, probably in the best position of them all. There are a couple of teams inside the building on the northern side where we do see 2C1M, Rendang, and the likes. SAUL as a duo will be able to just sneak into the zone down here on the southeastern side, but it's Gen G who sit basically alone on the western side of the zone, who will get to look over towards finishers, and all these teams moving in and pick the squads that are left. But Kassans is showing that Mastiff doesn't just bite, it barks as well, and man, does that thing sting.
Man, that was disgusting. Finishers getting rid of Rendang, and then finishers dying to zone. 2C1M now need to be aggressive. They're going up against Gen G Esports, and out comes that kickstart, which is going to give Dexter and Asia the chance to get some KP. Out comes the bubble, which is beautifully done as well. And this is a Gen G I'm so not used to seeing. Playing Gibby, but doing well at the moment, doing it. As we can see, Asia's, he's not stopping, as there's only 1 team left in front of him, and that is SAUL still standing here in game number 6.
And he did mention, though, SAUL playing this as a duo, so as long as you can hold off through the bombardment here, which it does look like Gen G is going to be able to do, it'll be that 3v2. Legacy opens up with some big damage on the fold. Also on the second side, Israel's been able to find a knock, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It's Gen G who come out on top in game number 6 to put themselves in the top spot for match day number 1.
What a huge game to cement first place for match day 1 here in APAC South Split 2. Gen G, we talked about, had a slow start. A super slow start in split number 1, and we were wondering, where the hell is this team? they start today in great form.
I believe in a Gen G win, and that's exactly what they were able to do today. I told you I wasn't going to mention much of their names. I wasn't going to put the curse on them. 12 kills, though, in game number 6. To go along with the 12 placement points as well, to be able to climb up the leaderboard and take that number 1 spot, earn those very valuable 25 points as far as for the split.
Wow, wow, wow. What a day. Gen G Esports getting the first match day victory. S8UL, well, as a duo, did pretty well. 5 kills, 2nd place. 2C1M get 3rd, finishes 4th, and Rendang 5th. But let's go and have a look at our series overall for our first day.
Let's take a look at it. I think the big thing I wanted to see was where S8UL finishes, because 14 points in that last one at least keeps them within the top 10, which is going to be important. You mentioned struggled through some DCs and things today. If you can make that be the roughest day of the split, I think S8UL is going to be quite all right, Stoney.
Yeah, it's going to be a interesting split for S8UL. If they can just turn things around, I'm sure they will. It's no panic stages at all for the lads. They're a team that we're definitely going to see win a couple of match days here over the next 3 weekends. Let's go and have a look at who got some victories. I think that will be Gen G getting their 2nd win of today, Q.
We were wondering if we were going to have 6 teams across our first 6 match games pick up dubs. It's Gen G who was able to prevent that, and through their 2 wins, pick up a majority of pretty good point. A majority of their points, if you take things all considered, 30 points through kills, another 24 of those points through those placement points. So 54 of their, what it ended up being, 70 points in 2 games. They made those 2 games worth it.
Made it worth it. They did. Let's go and have a look at who got all the kills today and the damage for our lobbies. And it is going to be Asia leading the way with 16 kills. Ziki with sitting 2nd with 14. QQ with 13. Black Road with 12. And Shayo rounding out the top 5 with 12 as well. And our damage leaders, well, Nimbus is going to finish on top with 9.3k damage. When sitting 2nd, Asia's sitting 3rd, Shayo 4th, and QQ rounding out our top 5. But that is day number 1 done here for our APAC South match day number 1. Wow. What a day.
And a quick turnaround we have until tomorrow here, Stoney, because we talked about it a lot throughout the course of the day. It's a busy split here. So we had these game nows. At this point, we kick off with our 2nd lobby in
13 hours.
13 and a half hours or something like that. So, yeah, make sure you guys are rested up. If you want to make sure that you guys are back here, make sure you hit that follow button over on Twitch, or if you're over on the YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on.
That's it. Once again, I appreciate you guys all being here. Hit that follow button. And yeah, we'll see you all here tomorrow. 13 hours time. You guys are staying up to watch EMEA and NA. Enjoy. But we'll see you right back here with APAC South at 12 p.m. SGT tomorrow. APAC North at 5 p.m. SGT tomorrow. And then we repeat it again on Sunday. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you all next time. Q, let's send them out and get back here tomorrow.
Yeah, make sure you guys are locked in tomorrow. First time you get to watch APAC North in English after we see our 2nd day of APAC South. Till we catch y'all back for the next one, though, make sure you don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all, that's Stoney. I'm Q. For the rest of the crew here from the front to the back, y'all have a great rest of your night. We'll catch you tomorrow. Peace. We're out of here.